Johannesburg, this is where the Springboks will be making a stop. They've been traveling from Pretoria since early this morning. They met with the President Cyril Ramaphosa earlier this morning, and this is where it's one of the stops. That's where they go to Soweto, and then thereafter that it's Durban, and then it's London, Port Elizabeth, and then Cape Town. The people here, they came here to celebrate, to show their support, to show their love for the boys in green and gold who did the business in Japan. What a great host Japan was. Some of the things that we were talking about is how Japan has embraced this World Cup. Not only embraced the World Cup as a host, but embraced it in terms of the various teams that it was supporting. They adopted basically. And what was striking is that the number of people that knew the South African anthem. It was great to see that. I mean, those youngsters standing next to the box, singing Kolisi Africa. It was amazing. So it was a great spectacle, rugby feast, one would say. And this is why the people are coming out in their numbers. It's a big thing. We won it in 95, we won it in 2007. 2019 is a seminal moment considering the number of issues that South Africa is dealing with. Economically, inequality, poverty. But this team, led by the first black South African captain to lift the Webb Ellis trophy, the Webb Ellis Cup, has created so much hope, so much vibe, one would say, energy, impetus is some of the words that people are using in order to use this as a springboard, in order to help try and solve some of these major issues that we are facing. So we were told that they have passed Nelson Mandela Bridge. I reported there, Market Getter Moslabe was there, bringing all the live visuals. As I said, we've got an army of video journalists and reporters covering this tour, not only here in Johannesburg, but around the country. Cities, the number of cities, Johannesburg, Durban, Port Elizabeth, East London, and Cape Town. You're going to get this coverage. So you don't have to venture far. This is where it's at. All the action live on SABC News. Now, to take you through what's going to happen here, we're told that Springboks are going to come up or down, depends on where you are, Simmons Street. They will stop in front of F&B Bank City, and hopefully they will address the crowds. Then you want to hear from their heroes, Siya Kolisi, Jason Kobe, Makosele Mampimpi, very popular here as well. After Clark has become such a hero to many that have gathered right here. I do apologize if my voice is drowned a bit, but I'm trying to compete with the music that's blaring from these speakers. A number of celebrities as well have come here to show their support and show their love for the Springboks. It's excitement palpable on the streets. The Simmons Street in Johannesburg. As you can see, the street is teeming with people. Despite the sun, despite the heat, they're here to show their love and support. I guess you could say it's passion personified. The Springboks came from different backgrounds, different circumstances, different races. They had one goal, they achieved it. And they've embraced their diversity and used it to propel them into the realm of greats. And that's what many are saying here. They are now among the greats. We won it in 95, we won it in 2007, now 2019. We've equaled New Zealand in terms of that. We didn't beat them in that first win, but do you think these people care that have gathered here? A win is a win. We are world champions.
Shout out to these youngsters, man.
You know, the Springboks also collected 3 World Rugby Awards to cover what many would describe as stellar year.
It's almost time.
And now it's time for the Springboks. I think they're just minutes away, so I guess the crowd is now parting ways. The call is to open up, so you let that bus come in.
Let's open up.
And it's what many here gathered since early this morning have been waiting for.
Let's open it up.
This is a bunch of winners, as they say. They've won numerous awards. They were crowned just after the day after they won the World Cup, with Rassie Erasmus being named as Coach of the Year. The Springboks were named as Team of the Year, and Peter Steph du Toit was named as Player of the Year.
So let me make my way back up.
I guess you could say that the awards were a rich reward
Once again,
for a year in which the Springboks completed the unprecedented double of winning both the Rugby World Cup and the Casablanca Rugby Championships in the same season. And a team which finished the year in #1 in the world rankings for the first time since 2009. To give you some statistics as well, impressive indeed, as we watch police escorting the bus that's carrying the heroes of South Africa at the moment, the champions of Rugby World Cup 2019. Springboks have arrived
South Africa,
on Simmons Street in Johannesburg. The Springboks won 10 out of the 12 tests, scoring 424 points and 52 tries and conceding only 138 points in 10 tries. Listen to this.
Let's get the jam ready. Let's go, South Africa. It's showtime. It's showtime. Rasta, we see you. Shout out to you, Rasta. The world champion. Captain, my captain. We see you, Fabi. We see you, Franco. We see you, Benny.
Okay, so there you can see the Springboks. They're in Johannesburg in the CBD. They're going to be approaching the FNB Citibank building, and that is where they're going to stop for a brief moment. And of course, they're going to be ultimately proceeding to Orlando Stadium. They're expected to get there around 4:15 later today. But of course, as you can see, things are taking a bit longer than one would expect because they're having to wade through the crowds who are standing in the road. Of course, SABC News has been covering the tour of the bus since earlier today, and of course we will continue to bring you coverage as this goes on right through to Orlando Stadium. And of course we know that tomorrow they'll also be proceeding on to Durban as well. They'll be proceeding to Durban, to the Moses Mabhida Stadium, and then come Saturday they're going to be going to East London, and then on Sunday they'll be going to Port Elizabeth, and Monday Langa in Cape Town, and ultimately Cape Town Stadium. And then the team will enter the stadium there, and the crowd will be addressed by the SARU president, coach and captain, and players will walk around the stadium displaying the trophy. And you can see that the team is proudly displaying that trophy every now and again at the front, at the top front of the bus. Sia Kolisi right there gesturing, very excited indeed, as we can see, along with his comrades, his colleagues who he won that Rugby World Cup with. The crowd's absolutely jubilated to see them. Of course, no doubt they not only want to touch the cup, but touch the players as well. And so they're taking their time, just expressing how grateful and excited they are about the Springboks bringing that cup home, the Webb Ellis Cup. It is a very exciting moment. People are saying that this victory is going to be uniting for the country. In fact, as we spoke to people in the streets earlier, people were saying that this is a moment that's bringing us together. And of course, the question is, and the hope is, that going forward, this momentum continues. We're here in South Africa. The most important thing really is the economy, which we know is not in a great shape right now. But of course, we've had the South African Investment Conference take place. Massive pledges being made towards injecting capital into the South African economy, foreign direct investment. And President Cyril Ramaphosa saying it's 17% more than what was pledged last year. And of course, if we get that capital investment actually injected in the economy, we're going to see the economy grow and jobs created. It's estimated that some 400,000 jobs will be created over the next 5 years, just on the basis of the pledges that have been made. Last year, we know that there was a pledge of about 300 billion rand that was made to invest in the economy over the next 5 years. That is up to 2023. And it's hoped, but it's expected that 80% of those pledges have actually been activated. That is, some of the projects have been completed or they've already begun to be implemented. So hopefully going forward, this Rugby World Cup will continue to give us the momentum to work together as stakeholders in the economy, so that ultimately we get a better societal situation where we reduce youth unemployment and all of those things. And of course, the captain, Sia Kolisi, spoke directly to this when he lifted up that cup and said that he was so proud to lift up the cup, but of course he wasn't doing it just for his team and himself, but he was doing it for the country. And he was hoping that that symbolic win would translate into South Africa, which he said has so many problems. And let's hope that indeed that is the case. Of course, we can see the visuals there. You know, some of the players are really getting down there. You know, they're dancing on top of the bus and just reveling in the moment, and the crowd's just loving every moment. They are supposed to be getting towards the FNB Bank City building, but of course they're moving at a very slow pace indeed. Of course, we continue to give you rolling coverage of the box, touring Johannesburg and getting all the way up to Soweto. That's all from the On Point team. Of course, the SA Today team will continue to dip into various parts of Johannesburg as the Rugby World Cup team, the champions, continue to make their way through to Soweto. That's all from us. Do take care.
A very good afternoon. If you've just joined us, the City of Gold is green and gold this afternoon because the world champions are in town.
Yes, indeed. Of course, you have the Springboks touring the province of Gauteng, having started in Pretoria this morning. And what you see now, live visuals from Johannesburg. Of course, you see there the captain of the Springboks, Kolisi, touring with the cup and showing it to the fans and the supporters. So this has been the scene, Peter, from early hours this morning in Pretoria, as well as throughout in Johannesburg.
I would even say that this story has been unfolding since they got off the plane. You know, I was in the area around the airport and it was chock-a-block, people excited. So today these scenes I think were predicted, and to see people joyous and happy for just a moment in time, celebrating their heroes, what wonderful images. A very good afternoon to you. I'm Peter Ndoro.
And I'm Balisa Chibisi. This is SA Today on the SABC News channel. We will be crisscrossing to our reporters stationed all across Johannesburg for the latest, as of course that is our big story this afternoon. The Springbok, of course, touring the province of Gauteng.
It is the only story, and these images people are watching from everywhere. No doubt there are a lot of people streaming this in other parts of the world. We've got South Africans living across the globe, actually, and I know places like London, for example, many South Africans will be watching these images and joining in on the excitement. And one of the things that I picked up as well is that this isn't just a South African victory. Across the continent, people were behind the box, and well, they've done us proud. They've done us all proud across the continent. And today, they're showing off that trophy to the adoring fans, and at the moment they're downtown Johannesburg at Bank City, because FNB, you'll know, is one of the major sponsors of the Springboks, and from there we're expecting them to go to Soweto a little bit later on to I think start to close off what's been a long momentous day for the Springboks.
Yes, indeed. And you know that tomorrow they're off to KwaZulu-Natal. They'll be in Umhlanga and around Durban, and then East London, Port Elizabeth, and then Cape Town will also have a taste of that Webb Ellis Trophy.
And throughout the course of the morning and the various stops that they've been to, of course, Captain Siya Kolisi has been, and you know, for a young man, he has such stature and speaking with such maturity and, dare I say, authority in terms of how he led his team and also what it was about. And he keeps on repeating the message, of course, that it was for the country, it was for the nation, and that they were there at the pleasure of the fans back at home. So let them have their moment and enjoy, because they've brought so much joy to so many millions of South Africans across the country and beyond our borders.
All right, so for now, we, as we said, so this is the Bank City, as Peter said, in Johannesburg. That's where the trophy is now. We've seen Captain Kolisi getting down there with the fans, of course. It's a very joyous moment, Peter. And the Boks are the only team to win this particular trophy on 3 different continents.
Wow.
It happened in Africa, it happened
Wow.
in Europe, and now in Asia
That's
as well.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think there may be only another country that have won it 3 times. So champions for sure. I don't think anyone really expected South Africa to win the World Cup, especially 18 months ago. They gave us no chance. But as the tournament got closer and closer, we were rank outsiders, slowly becoming, okay, we're in with a shout, maybe we can do it. And then we lost to New Zealand in the group stages, and there was a thinking that maybe it's just a step too far. But from that moment on, it looked like it might happen. So here we are, the result of an 18-month journey that a lot of people thought might not end with the kind of victory scenes that we're seeing right now. But there they are, the Boks, and it looks like Kolisi is speaking now to the crowds. I wonder if we've got some audio to hear what they're saying. All right, we don't have that audio at this stage, but his message has been pretty consistent throughout. And I mean, his story is quite powerful, isn't it?
It is indeed. I was listening to watching one of his videos on social media last night, where he literally narrates the story of his life, how everything happened, and how he ended up being a rugby player. So it's a beautiful story, very inspirational to the up-and-coming rugby players and those from the disadvantaged or previously disadvantaged areas to actually see that, yes, indeed, it can happen. It only takes hard work and passion for you to get to where Kolisi is.
Yeah, and it's powerful, these images of young people watching and saying, if Sia can do it, lifted this trophy, it might be possible for you. But let's go to Soweto now on Vilakazi Street, of course, one of the iconic streets in Soweto. And Mnikelo Madala is there for us. And let's cross to him now and get a sense of how Soweto is warming up to the arrival of the Boks a little bit later on.
Hi Peter, we've picked up that the Springboks have delayed in town, but that hasn't dampened the spirits out here in Soweto. The anticipation is building, and I think everyone is just waiting expectantly to see their heroes walk or drive in any moment now. I've got with me a rugby player who plays for the Leopards, Ulihle, to maybe share some of his experiences. Lihle?
Yes, I
The Springboks have won the World Cup. You're a rugby player.
Yeah.
What does that do for you personally?
Personally, I feel like it opens a lot of doors as well for us as rugby players. And I feel like a lot of us are more motivated now because, I mean, if you come to events like this and you actually get to witness everything that happens in this event, you also get a bit motivated to actually, work harder and get to that point that they had. So yeah, so that's how I feel personally at the moment.
And there's a lot of talk around transformation. What's your stance on that?
A lot of talk around transformation in terms of?
Is South African rugby doing enough to transform the sport in your view?
I feel like it's working in all of our favor. I mean, if you look at this whole quota system thing as well, I feel like it's not really a thing of how can I put it? It's not really a thing of because I'm black, I'm gonna play. It's just a thing of picking a good black player to play in where he needs to be. You understand? For instance, the likes of Beast and them, those are all really, really good players. But I don't believe it's all because of quota system. It's just a thing of they're really good black players. But everyone around just sees it as a quota thing because it's been said that quota is put into the system and whatnot, and a black player has to be there. But a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people understand that a black player is played because of how good he is, not because of his skin color. So I feel like that's just it, Joe.
And I think just for a last question, what's your take on the structures, the development structures on the ground? Do you think it's sufficient to be done?
For the box.
No. For rugby in general.
In general, I think there's a bit more to be done. I mean, there's still a lot of players that still need to be seen, and also I feel like there's still a lot to be done. That's not all we have. So yeah.
Well, there you have it, Peter. Litle's had his say. He's told us what he thinks, or where he thinks rugby is in the country. We wait with bated breaths for the Springboks to arrive here.
Nikelo, just before we leave you there, just a question. When you were driving around Soweto, is it the same kind of feeling, the same kind of excitement? Because Vilakazi Street, of course, is fairly iconic, it's very touristy, so we'd expect to see this. But what about other parts of Soweto? What did you see?
Look, I'm seeing a lot of South African flags today, not just on Vilakazi, but driving into Soweto, seeing a lot of South African rugby flags. You're seeing a lot of people in Springbok jerseys and even Bafana jerseys. So it's a lot going on. It's not just that we're in a tourist sort of precinct, but a lot is going on. People are aware of what's going on today. And we hope that the spirit lives on beyond today, not just rugby, but even with football.
All right. Nikela, thanks so much for that crossing. We'll cross to you a little bit later on, because that's going to be one of the next stops for the Springboks. And as I was saying a little bit earlier on, 3 times champions. The only other country to have won it 3 times is New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so what's significant about South Africa is that we missed the first 2 tournaments, of course, because it was during the apartheid era. So South Africa has won it 3 times from 8 tournaments. New Zealand have had 10 tournaments and won it 3 times. So the contribution, I mean what word am I looking for? Their achievement, there you go. Their achievement is quite significant, actually. They came late into the international scene, and yet were able to capture 3 tournaments, joint top with New Zealand in just 8 World Cups. So there you have it. Another record we can celebrate.
Indeed, incredible, isn't it? All right, so let's now cross to our SABC News anchor, Blaine Herman, who's also along the tour route. He's now at FNB Bank City in Simon Street. Blaine, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much. You've been out and about since this morning. What's the feeling like where you are?
One word, Vanessa, electrifying. Here comes the bumper blaring through the speakers here at the FNB Street, and we're currently
all right, no, that's like. All right, so we'll just try to get you at a better line. Blaine Herman out about as well in Johannesburg. That line is bad. Those are still visuals coming out of Johannesburg, where the trophy is on that tour with the Springboks. As we said, the next stop now will be Soweto.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that communications must be really difficult, because everybody
is on their
cell phones and probably clogging up the networks trying to get these images and share them on these social media platforms, this special moment. I saw a young man a little bit earlier on who said, I wasn't there in 2007, I wasn't there in 1995, but this is my time. This is my opportunity to catch some of this atmosphere and some of this excitement. And it is exciting times. And you'll always be remembering, where was I when we won the World Cup for the 3rd time? And in many ways, this one was really, really special, because it was so hard to win.
It is. A lot of people were not convinced that we wouldn't see through England.
Yes.
But we did, of course, and that's why we are here this afternoon. So the Springboks went to the Union Buildings this morning to meet President Cyril Ramaphosa, who was basically revealing that I missed Mampimpi's historic try because of this badly timed bathroom break.
Dear. No, these are wonderful images. So what you're seeing on your screen now, that's Vilakazi Street in Soweto, where the Springboks will be a little bit later on, and millions of South Africans in Soweto and beyond part of today's celebrations. The City of Gold, as I said earlier, today green and gold, celebrating the world champions. And as the President said, we are a winning nation, and indeed we are. Very, very exciting times and moments to savor, because this doesn't happen often.
Yes, indeed it doesn't.
All right, so joining us now is someone who's really been helping us tell this story. Tando, thanks so much for joining us. And I know that you've been asked a lot of these questions probably over and over again. But you know the story so well. And I just want to get once again, what does it mean? Does it surprise you that we're seeing these images across the country today?
No, it doesn't. I was around when 95 happened. It was similar images in these very same streets. It's more amplified now purely because there's the Kolisi factor. He's one of us. The sport has needed a black face, and Sia has provided that black face. It's more important now because he's the leader of the team. It's also it reaches out to a market that has been yearning for that hand. Black people have always said we want to be part of this game. We've played it for centuries. It's not a new game to us. We haven't started playing this game now in '94. We've played it for centuries. And Sia is basically that door now that's opened, and it's also symbolic with this parade now, because they haven't gone to the traditional rugby strongholds, your Ellis Park of this world, your Loftus of this world. They're actually going to Orlando Stadium, they're going to Cape Town Stadium, Moses Mabhida, which is basically your new soccer stadiums, which is, I suppose, also a way of saying we're going to the new. Let's meet you at a new ground, at a neutral venue, and let's find a meeting place. This is what this team is about, anyway. Reaching out and meeting each other halfway, and putting our differences aside, and seeing what we can do without our differences.
And you know, the importance of having heroes. I go back to my childhood, and you know, the Premier League is full of black players now, but when I was a kid, you could count them on one hand, and as a young black kid at the time, I was so excited to see just one black player on the pitch. And I can imagine now, as you were saying, it really is quite a motivator, but also inspiring thing to see yourself on the field.
You know, this team is littered with stories like that. Adwayne from Newland grew up with a father, with a family that never settled in one place. Beast Mtawarira is not from South Africa, and he had to realize his dream in a foreign country, in a different position. Magazola Mapimpi, four years ago, played in a tournament that was organized by one Dalimpov during an Easter rugby festival. All over, wherever you look, Sia Kolisi, for example, grew up from real poverty. His parents, they got him when they were very young. That's another story altogether. It's everywhere you go, whether it's privilege or abject poverty, all of those things coming together and creating this beautiful thing. And also, these guys coming out of their comfort zones and seeing normal people, reaching out to them and saying, you are part of us, you are our South African heroes, you might be world leaders in what you do, but you carrying our name, you carrying our national pride. That is important. When you go out on national duty, whether you're a politician, whether you're a sportsman, you need to carry yourself in a certain way, and this is the reward you get. when you do that in an exemplary manner.
Very inspirational it is. I was listening to a rugby player speaking to Nigelo just a short while ago, basically saying that this will open more opportunities for them as up-and-coming rugby players. So I suppose this is all it's all about.
It will bring more funding into development structures, but ultimately what needs to happen when it comes to development, it needs to be results-based. We can't have a situation whereby we open an academy and we can't say that how many players from that academy have made it to a provincial team or super rugby team or a national team. We need to have tangible results from things like academies. We need to hold people accountable for the money that they use in those academies. Yes, Lihle, for example, playing in Poch, will get an opportunity to further his rugby skills, but we also need to see Lihle succeeding and playing at Currie Cup level, playing at Super Rugby level, because ultimately rugby is a profession and a viable profession when you play at those levels. People don't understand how much money you can make from rugby. You can be rewarded financially if you make it to the top of the game, but people give up on the sport because of the politics. It can be very frustrating, especially when you get to under 21 level, because it starts being, the financial rewards start being real when you get to under 21 level. And that's where a lot of rugby careers have been destroyed, unfortunately. Because, for example, a lot of people used to say the Bulls and the Sharks used to destroy black careers, because you'd see under 19 players going to these academies and not succeeding and progressing to the Currie Cups and the Super Rugby franchises. Yes, things have changed. Have they changed enough? Maybe not. But you'd like to see more being done. You'd like to see people being held accountable. I don't like things like quotas, because for me, when you label players as quotas players, you take away the significance and the success of a system. You take away the value and the talent that player has. The reason we have a Siya Kolisi playing is because once upon a time, there were people like Thando Manane, there were people like Chester Williams, there were people like Ashwin Willemses. It's all because those players were given opportunities. Breton Posa played more than 50 tests for the Springboks because he got given opportunities at international level. And that's what we need. We need to give youngsters opportunities to play and let their talent express themselves and let the talent show how good they are.
How do we get a lot, because this is something I've seen as well and experienced. When you're at school, you've got all the time in the world to play sport, enjoy it and excel. So there's a lot of black kids playing at school level. We matriculate and a lot of them drop off and don't actually follow through. They go to other things. How do we get the ones we know that could end up being these superstars to carry on?
I think, you see, that's even worse now, Peter, because you actually get black players going through after matric and going to academy. So at under 19 level, you see black players playing for the Sharks, the Bulls, the Lions. But because at that level, it doesn't cost a lot.
Right.
But the minute it changes, where at under 21 level, that's when the numbers dwindle. Because now my father, who owns a sugarcane farm or a big business, can help the union financially. It's those kind of deals. It becomes sweeteners, and that's where relationships get built and careers get killed. The saddest thing about professional careers, this is not just a rugby phenomenon, also a cricket. At a stage where it becomes professional, in the sense whereby you can earn more than 30,000 Rand a month, people tend to favor a certain color, and that's where they don't realize that you limit the growth of the game. For example, you look at a player like Themba Bavuma. Everyone remembers the century Themba Bavuma scored in Cape Town. Not to look down on the centuries other white players have played, but because of the frustration that the system inflicts on black players, we celebrate the successes of black players even more because of the frustration, because of how many of the number of black players that have been stifled by the system. We're hoping that things will change. We're hoping that more black coaches will also be part of decision makers. We're hoping that more selectors, more directors of rugby of color.
Do we need more franchises?
No, not really. I don't think we need more franchises because that dilutes the system.
Yeah.
We just need better decision making. We also need to have a more open mind, because for the game to grow, we need to appeal to the bigger population. And the minute we don't do that, we are basically eliminating the bigger numbers, and we're eliminating the talent pool in the country. And that is the short-sightedness of the people that make the decisions. They sit and they say, look, they'll back the ones they know. But there's nothing wrong with saying, let's back the talent.
So what did Sia see? What was it that he said, no matter the odds, I'm going to play this game?
Sia grew up in a rugby family. His grandfather played rugby. His father played rugby. In his area, Zwide, African Bombers is a big club. It's a traditional club. So in just like in Soweto, you grew up watching clubs playing soccer. You play soccer in the streets. Usia in Zwide, they played rugby, and he grew up in that environment. There's a package where he talks about when he went hungry, he'd sit and watch the first team train. So he grew up in the sport, and in that, the hunger. I don't think he sat and said, I'd become a Springbok. He just wanted to play the game.
Okay, because he had been exposed
to the game.
Wow. So they're on their way to Soweto now. This bus entourage with and I can only imagine. I mean, I'm trying to think. These players, they knew that they were gaining support as the tournament went on. What do you think is going through their minds now as they're going to various parts of the city and experiencing this appreciation?
They need to take it, and they need to absorb this, and those that will carry on with this team to the next World Cup or to the next big tour, which is the British Lions in 2 years' time, they need to absorb this and understand the value of a united South Africa. These players were there when things were not good, when the entire country turned on them, both black and white, when no one wanted to go and watch them, when people were not willing to part with their hard-earned money to go watch a losing Springbok team. These players have seen the good and the bad. And even though there'll be players that will leave now, there will also be players that will stay. And lessons have to be learned. These players need to carry this baton forward. New Zealand have won back-to-back World Cups based on a losing New Zealand side. And that is what we need to learn from our mistakes. We need to carry on and build on the successes of this team.
Fantastic images. And you see these rugby jerseys everywhere. It's just
the excitement is everywhere, as you say. They are currently making their way now to Soweto. They will go via Vilakazi Street, where we spoke to our reporter Miguel Madala, and then from there on they will head to Hector Peterson Memorial. Just after 4 o'clock, they're expected to be at Orlando Stadium.
So, Tando, when do you think along this journey, because 18 months ago, no one was going to put any money on the Boks winning the World Cup. When do you think it started to become an outside chance and then slowly becoming a reality?
The first big game changer for me was when Rassie Erasmus, the first thing he did before he picked a side, before he had done any training camp, he said, my captain is Samtanda Kolisi.
Wow.
Sia was not playing the base rugby. He probably didn't even deserve to be in the team, if I'm honest. But he said, my captain is Sia Kolisi. At that time, the captain of the Springboks was Eben Elizabeth.
Wow.
The person Sia was captaining at the Stormers. Rassie Erasmus put his neck on the line, because when he took over, I think it was March or something like that. He said, this is my captain. And that's the kind of boldness I'm talking about, where you need to back the talent, and because you know the character, you need to back that character, and you need to back the personality. Sia and Rassie go back a long way. Their journey did not start now. Rassie, when he was director of rugby at Western Province back in the early 2010s, 2011, Sia was still a youngster. He used to be in charge of the academy at Western Province, and Rassie used to manage that academy in Stellenbosch. He knew the character, he knew the boy growing up, and he grew up under his hands. So when he had a chance to pick a leader, he knew all these players. And he said, he could have said Dwayne Vermeulen will be my captain, because he had the option of picking any player from any part of the country. But he said, Siya Kolisi is my captain.
So what is it about leading in a sporting sense in a rugby team that you have to pick the right person?
The best leaders are not necessarily the most talented players, they're not necessarily the most vocal players, but they're leaders of men, people whose voices matter, people who are easy to follow for the team. Siya has that. Francois Pienaar had that. John Smith had that. You have to be a leader that resonates among the group. It's a difficult thing, because it's funny, because all three captains that have won the World Cup have not been the best in their positions. People have always said, if you could pick a so-and-so in that position, but in '99, for example, a lot of people said we never won that World Cup, not because we didn't have the talent. That team went 15 games unbeaten. But come the World Cup, Nick Mallet dropped the captain, which was Gary Tachman at that time, because he thought Gary was not the best in his position. But Gary was the best leader in the group.
Okay.
You need to have a leader that resonates amongst the group. A person who's a captain for everyone. As Siya, for example, in this group, I always go on about it, that this group did not come with a package of a successful team. Like the 95 World Cup team, which had a Transvaal team, which was successful.
Right.
2007 team was filled with Bulls players, which was successful, who had won a Super Rugby tournament. This team was basically a bit of this, a bit of that. And Siya managed to get the group to think along the same lines and believe in the same common goal. Rassie managed to get the right leader to relay his message to the group. That was important. And it's weird, because this team and the same leadership group and the same group of players, nothing had changed. It's the same group of players that had lost those first 2 years. Same leadership group was there, they had lost. But Rassie said, all I'm going to do is change the captain. And in changing the captain, the entire fortunes and the mindset of this team changed. That's when they started thinking about other things, understanding about how people grew up, wanting to find out, how do you think as a farmer? How do you think as a person who grew up eKasi? Those are different dynamics. And the minute you understand someone's background, you appreciate who they are as a person.
So I suppose that as well speaks volumes about Rassie Erasmus's leadership style as well. And unfortunately, he's leaving, as much as he will still remain director of rugby. So how influential would Rassie Erasmus still be in this fraternity?
Very, very much so, because as director of rugby, he controls all the systems in the national teams. I also think moving away from the Springboks gives them the space and the room to have better perspective on things, because you don't want to be caught in the euphoria of winning a World Cup and not have the clarity of thought. He will move away, but the systems will stay in place, and he'll still manage from above. He'll still have someone who has worked with him in charge of the Springbok team. He'll still play an active role in terms of how things are managed and how things are done. But he will not have the pressure, because a big part of this job is the pressure, the day-to-day pressure of coaching a Springbok team. Whether you're in February and there's no test match, everyone is expecting you to have those guys in top condition. Everyone is asking you about the team. Every player is worried about selection, about conditioning and all of that kind of stuff. He will not have that. He'll have the clarity of thought and the space to think about different ideas, to make sure that we are on top of the world and we stay on top. I think that is the most important part. We need to do what New Zealand did. We need to stay on top of the world for as long as possible. I think Steve Hansen, as New Zealand coach, only lost less than 10 games between 2012.
All right, we're going to talk about the future just now, because I am quite interested. It seems to me that Rassie Erasmus had also paid his dues in where he had gone, where he had practiced this craft, that he was a successful player and went on, and that perhaps he had all the ingredients to take this team together. But we'll chat about that just now, because We're going to go to
Orlando Stadium.
Yeah.
That is Orlando Stadium. Our reporter Thabiso Sithole is standing by, and we know, of course, that will be the final stop of the Springboks with their trophy parade. Thabiso, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through. Now, tell us, what's the mood like where you are? All right. Well, it looks like we're having some difficulties in connecting to our reporter there, Thabiso Sithole. So Orlando Stadium in Soweto will be the final stop this afternoon in Gauteng province. So those are live visuals that you see there of the bus with the Springboks making their way to Soweto. They will stop at Vilakazi Street, the Hector Peterson Memorial, and then off to Orlando Stadium where Thabiso Sithole is. Good afternoon to you, Thabiso. Talk to us about the mood. It's excitement all over Gauteng, isn't it?
All right, we're going to carry on trying to reach Thabiso because Orlando Stadium is quite iconic in itself, isn't it? And you were mentioning earlier that we're not going to the traditional venues. Why Orlando?
Orlando Stadium is also where legends were born. It's regarded as a heartbeat of Soweto, in the middle of the two Orlandos per se. You're bridging the divides here. You're bringing together people. You need to find iconic venues and strategic venues at that. It's a nice. It's not too big like an FNB stadium. It's big enough to hold a decent crowd. It's also not too far from Vilakazi Street, right. So it makes it's a practical venue. From a marketing perspective, you can talk about the legends that were built in Orlando Stadium and honoring. If you're going to Soweto, you need to honor all the legends and not just honor the political legends. You also need to recognize that there are sporting legends and great sporting legends at that. So I think that is why you'd go the Orlando Stadium route as opposed to an FNB stadium. As great as it is, as much as we achieve great things at FNB Stadium, but
the history and the location.
Sure if you speak to the older folk here, they could tell you about the great things about Orlando Stadium and how big teams like Kaizer Chiefs were built on the back foot of great stadiums like Orlando Stadium.
All right, well, Thabiso Sithole, we're going to try him again. He is at Orlando Stadium. Thabiso, that you are at the venue of where today's parade is going to conclude. Give us a sense of the mood, the atmosphere ahead of the arrival of the world champions.
Thank you very much, Peter. Unfortunately, no, we're not at the Orlando Stadium. In fact, we're on Vilakazi Street, the famous Vilakazi Street, home of Babu Nelson Mandela, home of Desmond Tutu himself. And made famous, of course, just up the road from that is the Hector Peterson Memorial, where I think that's where the end of the road is as far as the trophy tour is concerned. Orlando Stadium is to our left, about maybe 500 meters or so from there, but we thought the vibe is actually much. There's a lot of people that, in fact, we've been here since lunchtime and the throngs of people. I think now, if I look to my left, I think there's a camera shot going wide. You can see down the street, a couple of hundred of people have come up. Some tourists, of course, this street, very synonymous with tourism, and everyone comes to see Mandela's house as well as Desmond Tutu's house and just get the vibe of Soweto. And I heard the conversation that you and Kolisi were having with Thando Mxoli there in studio, the significance of Kolisi, the significance of a black captain raising that trophy. I think that's going to come through with my guest right now. I'm going to speak to Godfrey Ntlogoma, who is part of the Soweto Rugby Cup. Godfrey, the conversations and I'm going to ask you to step just forward a little bit, so get some sun in your eyes. The conversation we've been having in the studio is the importance of this black captain coming 1995, where we thought rugby was a great uniter. We had a little bit of a lull. 2007, 12 years later, we finally have another World Cup. Your take from the Soweto Rugby Club, how do you see this victory, in particular that of Kolisi?
Well, I think as much as we are celebrating this victory, I guess we have to take stock. And taking stock, I mean that we have to look at the targets also that were set before going to this Rugby World Cup, of which the coach was expected to pick 50% players of color or black players, if I may say so. And he only managed to select 31% or 32%, if I may say. And I think that with then taking what then the quotas that were selected, if we may use that terminology, I think they've accounted themselves very well. And I think that has removed the connotation that says that quotas are very bad or quotas are negative. So now I think what we need to look forward in terms of his plan as a director of coaching going forward is I want to see him making sure that then he increases this number from 31% up to the right number or correct number, if I may use that word, so that we see that he reaches his target. But not only looking into that, I think we need to see then coaches coming through the system, be it is Pro 14, be it is Super Rugby, and let's have these unions or these franchises starting to have the same belief that he had on the black players or the people of the other race compared to his race. So I think that it's a challenge to Saru too, to say that these franchises, then they need to step up to the plate actually.
Godfrey, let's speak about Soweto Rugby Club, as it were. Soweto not really known for rugby. When you think of Soweto, you think of the Derby, Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, Morocco Swallows. We saw rugby come to the Orlando Stadium during the Super 14 final. We saw the Bulls, as it were, come through. We saw a different vibe in Soweto. How, as you as Soweto Rugby Club, tapping into, or how you plan to tap into this, the mood, the euphoria that in particular black South Africans have with having a black captain to raise the sport in Soweto?
I think as Sowetans we've been missing an opportunity, because rugby didn't start maybe in 95 here in Soweto. Rugby was being played even in the 60s by our parents who were mine workers, who were migrant workers here in this township. Like in the 1970 team of the Leopards, which was the Black Springbok at the time, we had a player called Wilfred Jacobs, of which he was staying here in Dobsonville. And we never built then that momentum to make sure that then we take our rightful place during like those times. And you look at, I'm a generation myself of a great rugby development program that took place after the 1995 Rugby World Cup, whereby we had Soweto having about 18 primary schools playing rugby in this township, and then we had about 6 high schools at the time playing rugby at the time, and the Lions at the time, they were spending something like 5 million rands on development. I think it's on record. It's there on record. Even if you can look at the court papers where a former SARU president was taken to task.
Let's speak of the matches of rugby and celebrations as well. I know that we cannot escape the fact that things need to be done and done differently. What do we take from this now? The Kolisis of this world, we saw throughout the day kids being spoken to, kids throughout the spectrum, white, yellow, brown. When you speak about who's your favorite player, a Kolisi is first on their lips. What do we take out of this as black kids? We saw Sia saying, as South Africans, doing together, holding hands, we can achieve what they achieve. How then do we take that and run with it, especially with clubs like yours?
Well, as much as we want to take it and run with it, we cannot run away from the fact that then when Kolisi lands and then is hounded and surrounded by politicians, of which on the matter of development and transformation, the very same politicians, they will never hound or surround or resonate or talk to us. Instead, you'll be labeled probably as a troublemaker, but okay, let's move forward. I think what we need to take out of this is a message that says, as much as politicians, they are the legislators or the policy makers, I think let's challenge the political parties in this country that when they go to their policy conferences, then they need to engage with administrators of sport in this country in terms of drafting those policies, in terms of drafting whatever legislation, a piece of legislation that needs to be drafted. Because we've been working in silos basically, but now with this victory, it has proven and shown that we need each other, we need to be under one roof or be one unit, and not looking away or maybe saying corporate SA as well, maybe they are the holy ones. So we need a holistic approach. We definitely need a broadcaster like SABC to not only to show us a final, but to show us all these games as small or as big as they are. So we need each other basically. We need to unite as a country, unite all of us to make sure then that we build this thing from bottom up.
Let's start. I'm going to take you a step back. Godfrey, 1995, where were you when you saw us lift the first World Cup? And where and how do these World Cups measure, and as far as you being a rugby fan, a rugby player yourself, in terms of the significance of the tournament in the bigger scheme of things? Let's take us 95, where were you, and take us through the chronology as far as reaches this one.
Well, I was part of the kids that Louis Late would take out of Soweto and take to Ellis Park. So I've been fortunate enough that I was part of those kids during that development program. As much as the late Dr. Louis Late was labeled with certain names, but I know what he has actually done for this township. At the same time, I'm not saying that he was a perfect human being. So fortunately, some of us, we managed to get into the stadium. We're one of those kids that were passed out of this township. Actually, even building up towards that 1995 Rugby World Cup, we were the kids who were fortunate enough from this township then to be taken building up to a place like in Wanderers. This is where we used to, like all these activations, like as you can see, it's green everywhere. So these types of activations, they used to be done at Wanderers, and we used to be passed to go there and used to meet your Mark Andrews, all those types of players who were playing the Cobas Visas back in those days.
My question is then, obviously that Soweto rugby has got it's been in the rugby circles for quite a long time. To the extent that I'd say that's possibly the best union or the best province in South African rugby right now, the Lions, by virtue of results. So Soweto rugby has got a foot in there. What, if I can be blunt, what is then stopping us from turning out and being as competitive, if I can say, like with regards to your Eastern Capes, and as far as a lot of black youngsters, the Kolisi, where they come from? What is stopping you, this neighborhood or this township, from churning out those years?
Well, it's a couple of challenges. Maybe one on top of my head, what I can say is that professionalizing rugby in this country, it has its pros and cons. The pros is that then players will be well looked after, they will get paid nicely and so on and so forth. But the cons, part of the cons is that within these type of communities, not only in Soweto, you can go to Eden Park, rugby has died, or if it's not dying. Go to El Dorado Park, where Eldoronians at one time, they were part of the club champs in this country, rugby has died if it is not dying. So it's not only a Soweto issue, and we need to look at the issue like even beyond provincially. It's a challenge where individuals are owning now more than 70% of these franchises, and then the unions are left with 27 or 23%. And then who are the unions? Maybe the question that we may ask. It's community clubs. It's clubs from the community who are forming what is called a union, and they had to share 23% or 27%. And then we have a failing schooling system also when it comes to developing sport. Me and you, we are coming from an era where on Wednesdays you always knew that it's sports day. Is it sports day now? Or maybe you are parked with your big Range Rover outside waiting for your child to take her home. No longer sports. So it's an educational system issue, it's a structural issue, it's a social issue that we need to deal with to make sure that townships like Soweto, townships like El Dorado Park or Nongomo, wherever, then we are able to develop another Kolisi, another Lucanyo Amor, another Mapimpi.
Before I let you go, a passing word to the viewers at home, particularly to this team who've made a lot of black South Africans proud with the victory. Not only black South Africans, but South Africa as a whole, because we're celebrating as a whole. It's not a black victory, but the importance of the Kolisi has sort of brought back that vigor from the black public, because most of us, we preferred supporting the All Blacks, to be honest. But now we have someone to look up to and say, yes, maybe we can support this team.
Well, I'll start with the administrators of rugby in the townships, in the rural areas. Let's stop serving our own agendas, individual or personal agendas. Let's stop greed and let's start serving the sport. And to those who have served the sport and who are greedy, it's not about you. The game is bigger than all of us. Then to the kids out there, let's make sure we invade whatever open space that is there with this beautiful ball, which is called the rugby ball. And as a country, what we need to start doing, even corporate SA, if I may invite them, SABC, everyone, we need to start having a mentality whereby we say rugby is going to be one, if not already it is, of the economic drivers within our economy, within the country. And the government, if I also may send a message to them, when you're cutting budgets, stop running to the Department of Sport as a first department where you go cut budgets. And then let's enjoy the sport and let's enjoy this victory. It's another 4 years, Tabi, so what can you say?
Perfectly, thank you very much for joining us from Soweto Rugby Cup. Well, you heard there, Peter, it's not only about celebrating the victory, but also maybe possibly a time of reflection. As Godfrey just said, there are a couple of things that we can be looking forward to. Let's build on this, and as far as rugby is concerned, yes, celebrate the victory, but what do we do from there is what Godfrey is saying. We're in Soweto, the bus is going to drive past, it's going to go through, but the legacies is what Godfrey is basically, I think, pertaining to. The legacies of what happens when the team has left. Does Soweto Rugby Club and say, look, let's pick up from there. Kolisi is a black kid. He came from a township. It's not in Soweto, maybe in PE. He's made it through. Maybe I too can be the next Kolisi. So plenty to speak about. But for now, as Godfrey said, let's celebrate this victory. It is one thing. What, 4 years for another Rugby World Cup? I heard the president this morning saying he's not planning to wait another 12 years. Hopefully, yes, in 4 years' time, we'll be standing here again celebrating yet another Springbok victory. But for now, Peter, I'm going to send matches back to you. I know that the Springboks are getting closer. I think last time I checked, they were driving through Boystons or just getting into the highway. But as soon as they get here to Soweto, we'll be catching you all, giving the live pictures. And I know just a couple of meters from me, 500 meters or so from me, is my colleague, I forget his name, Nigel Madala, who is at the Hector Peterson Memorial, an integral part of South Africa's history, where I know the Springboks are going to make a turn there too. Peter?
Thanks, Tavi. So thanks very much indeed. In fact, the bus is getting closer and closer. I think they're actually probably... Tando, can you tell where they are?
That is I think that's Orlando, actually.
Yes, I think they're almost there, literally. Very, very exciting times. I mean, I suspect there are a lot of people who haven't watched much rugby that suddenly got sucked into this thing, especially once we got to the semi-final stage, and suddenly picked up on the story.
And that's what you get with success on the biggest stage. You get interest from people who normally wouldn't be interested in the sport. Look at the tournament host, for example, how the whole country got involved in the whole spirit of the World Cup, how they started adopting teams, how they got emotionally involved, crying when teams lost, how they embraced teams' anthems. That's how you embrace an event and a new thing in life. Talking about Soweto Rugby, I have a gripe with these guys because they've got the biggest township in the country. We'd like to see more talent coming through that area.
Why is it Eastern Cape? What is it?
Look, the Eastern Cape has a history of playing the sport. It's generations after generations that have played the game. Jo'burg doesn't have that history. But that said, you've got the people. You've got people emigrating and moving to the urban areas every day. Why don't you take advantage of those numbers? You've got people from the very same Eastern Cape. They play the rugby in those provinces. The people from KZN play rugby. Why don't you use those resources better? Soweto, as big as it is, has not produced enough black talent for me. Yes, there have been politics that have hampered the administration, but still, it would be nice to see more black talent coming from your Sowetos, your Tembisas, your Vosloorus, Mamelodi. Those areas they are gold mines as far as I'm concerned. Even a place like Hillbrow, you talk about size. There are some reasonably sized people in those areas, and if I think, with a decent scouting system and a well-managed scouting system, you could get proper talent, and with the right incentive and with the right drive and with the right systems, that talent can be nurtured and be groomed into something. There's a guy, High Achiever Daiman, he plays for the Lions. High Achiever, his father was a boxer, but his father's not. Is not from South Africa. He's Nigerian. He's a boxer. And he talks of it's a sad story whereby his dad wanted him to be a boxer, not a rugby player, and he had to lie to his dad and said, "Look, I'm playing soccer at this place," and he was a jeppy, and he got a scholarship, but it wasn't a full scholarship. It was a half a scholarship whereby his parents had to contribute. His dad was not willing to pay that amount of money.
Because he wanted him to be a boxer.
He wanted him to be a boxer. Eventually, luckily enough, long story short, the school eventually bought him because they believed in the talent.
Yeah.
They eventually gave him a full scholarship, and now he's a provincial player for the Lions. He plays at Super Rugby level. From the very same Hillbrow that we're talking about.
Wow.
So it also speaks to the interest that we have as parents. We can actually help in nurturing that talent.
Yes, we need to believe in the talent. And also, even the broken homes that we're talking about. Magazola Mapimpi didn't grow up with his parents. His mother passed away at a young age. Sia Kolisi grew up with his grandmother. Those are things you don't give up because things have not been great. You keep on fighting. You keep on. You never know where you're going to end up in life. You could be the head of Discovery. You could be the next Sia Kolisi sitting on a bus like this. You just never know.
So I'm seeing this bus and I'm seeing this group of people that you said were kind of a mix and match. How on earth did we win the World Cup?
With good planning and good leadership. I think the talent, we're a rugby playing nation and we've got a very big pool of rugby players. But we had a plan and we executed the plan well. The players believed in the plan and that was the recipe.
And it wasn't the prettiest rugby for a long time. And I think the final surprised me, to be honest, because I thought of all the games that we're going to play, the boring defensive rugby was going to be the final against England.
It doesn't.
What happened?
It doesn't have to be pretty.
Yeah.
All that matters is you being one point ahead on the scoreboard. It really did not have to be pretty. All we needed to do was to get to the final, and then in the final do enough to win the match. That is it. The people that played the pretty rugby, they ended up third and fourth. And
what did England not see coming in the final?
I think they underestimated our determination, which was surprising. Because Eddie Jones coached South African players. John Mitchell coached South African players. I read a quote earlier where he says, as the teams were warming up, he greeted Dwayne van Meulen and Franco Mostert, who he knows during his time here in South Africa when he coached the Lions. And he said they just looked at him and didn't even greet him.
Wow.
And he should have known then that these guys are on a different level. They want this game a bit more than what his team wants, and he should have G'd up his team a bit more. But he underestimated how much we wanted something. Peter, when South Africans want something, we
find something extra.
We go pretty deep, and it's not a black or white thing.
Yeah.
When South Africans want something, Afrikaners went through concentration camps. They went through a great trek. We are the founding members of a United Nation. Black South Africans toppled an unjust system through pure determination, nothing else. We've achieved great things in this country by pure determination, not because we had it all going for us. It's that determination that made us find things within us. And if you don't understand that, you'll never understand why we achieved the great things we have achieved. And sometimes we are too modest in recognizing our success.
So why can't Bafana and the Proteas tap into this determination that you're talking about?
The Proteas have come close a couple of times. Bafana, I think even there, with the right leadership, you'll be surprised how far they'd go.
So leadership is an important ingredient.
Leadership is important because, I'll make an example. South Korea, 2002. Talk about talent. People say, Bafana don't have the talent. You name me 2-3 players from the South Korean team in 2002. You will not get to 3 players. But those guys got to a World Cup semi-final. And all they had was a very good coach in Gus Hiddink. That is all. Good coach, and they believed in what Gus was saying to them. Good leadership and a group of people believing in whatever direction that leadership is leading them. You'll be surprised with how far you get, but you need a good plan. You can't just believe in something. And it's weird though, even bad plans actually manage to achieve good results, but the belief is the root cause of great results.
So you talk about soccer, and it reminds me of SAFA President Danny Jordan coming to the defense of Bafana, saying that you cannot compare the two sporting codes. How you qualify for the Rugby World Cup is totally different to how you qualify for Bafana.
Who did amazing things in Europe.
Yeah, it is, as much as I understand his argument, because look, there's a bigger pool of competitive teams in soccer, so I'll give him the argument. But also, organized teams, soccer teams, actually manage to get very positive results, and disorganized soccer teams who end up being broke don't get very far in tournaments. So I think if we got our house in order, we'd be very surprised with how far we'd get. We've got players now who are playing in the Champions League who are actually showing what kind of talent we've got in this country. We need to believe in the right systems, and we need to back the right people to do what they do.
So speak to us about these images that we're seeing. I mean, this is the Rugby World Champions. They are meeting, seeing salt of the earth people, grassroots as they're ever going to get. And I see this joy and this happiness. I mean, I'll never forget this moment.
But you know, Peter, this is how dreams are made. You're standing there on the side of the road as a youngster. You're 10 years old. You see world champions driving past in a bus. That is how your dreams get wings. That's how dreams are born.
You get inspired.
You want to be the person sitting on top of that bus, talking to the nation. You want people seeing how great you are. You want people to admire your name and your family's name by achieving greatness. This is how dreams are born. You don't achieve greatness by sitting in an office and being unknown. We need to celebrate our greatness like this. So we need to inspire people like this.
Are people going to watch rugby more?
Are we going to understand it even more? Because I remember just before the finals, one fan was asked, can you predict the score for us? And he said 2-1.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have a 2 as a score, a 1 in rugby. So,
but you know, I'm not expecting masses of people to now sit and watch rugby every Saturday. But you'll get small decisions like if your son wants to play rugby instead of hockey, you'll say,
let him.
Give it a try. Let's see. Because you will not be worried about them being injured or being hurt. You want your son to have a chance. All you want is the opportunity. All you want is the little chance to be exposed to the game. If a person likes it, great. If a person doesn't like it, at least they were exposed to the game. They can be a fan. That is all you want. That's how you grow the game. If you can get 100,000 more people watching the game or being involved in the game in whatever way, then the game has grown and there's been a positive influence on the sport.
So 95, 207, 2019, if we take those as snapshots, has the game improved over time?
It has. It has financially. It has in terms of numbers. It has controversially so even in terms of transformation numbers. There are more black people involved in rugby in different parts than in 95. There are more black players in this national team now than in 95. In 95, we only had one. We had Chester Williams. There are many more black players now. The tradition and culture has changed a bit. We've got things like Amakwijo, where back in the days it was you'd hear your captains and oles. Now we've got things like Gwijo squads, which are part of the Springbok setup. There is a bit of a shift in mindset, and the game is growing. You go to the stadium now, you'll see black faces at the stadium. Yes, it's not the big 60-40 turnaround we'd like to see, but there has been an improvement, and we're hoping that more people will adopt the game and embrace the game in the future.
The Kolbis of this world also say you don't have to be 6'3" and weigh 300 pounds or 300 kilograms to be a world champion.
Cheslin was practically chased out of this country. He played great rugby for the Stormers, and did everything he could have done to be selected for the national team. But because of science, he wasn't. Funny enough, Rassie Erasmus picked him when he was in France.
Wow.
When he had given up on an international career. And he had seen him play in France against bigger players. And he said, Cheslin, I want to give you a try. He couldn't believe he was chosen. When his coach told him, it's a funny story, his assistant coach said, so you can bring me biltong now. And he thought he was insinuating that his wife could bring him biltong. He said, no, my wife is coming back in 2 months. He said, no, you're going home this weekend. You can bring me the biltong yourself when you come back.
Wow.
And he was astounded. He said he was in tears when he was told, you actually have a chance to have an international career. And the smallest man on the field ended up being one of the nominees for World Player of the Year, purely because of his heart.
It's not necessarily about your physique.
No, not always.
It's about how you play the game.
Yeah, you need to have, the physique will help you, and the heart will help you carry on.
But there's something about it. I think they said players like Messi, their center of gravity is so much lower, so that they can do those little dummy runs and things that he does.
They're harder to catch because they're so small. They're nippy. They're quick off their feet. But they always say if a big one and a small one collide, the big one is likely to run over the small one. But
you got to
also,
catch the small one.
That's the thing. It's hard to catch a Cheslin Kolbe because of his nippy feet and his speed. Look, in any sport, you use your strengths and you don't let your weaknesses be a hindrance.
Yeah. That first try, Mapimpi and Makanya, I think.
And Lukanya.
Yes, yeah.
It's like an artist.
Yeah.
You need to see the picture. You need, before it happens, you need to be able to see the picture and then you need to draw it. Magazolo had no space. He was literally running on the touchline, and the very same Magazolo had no skills. That's what people said. He had no ball skills. Had the presence of mind and the skills to kick the ball inside, to create the space. When Lukanya picked it up and passed it back to him. That is another thing that a guy like Muzwandile Stick had taught him. Because when he joined the Springbok camps 2 years ago, Rassie even said this guy can't even catch a cold. That's how bad he was with his catching. But he's become a world champion, and he's become a World Cup winning wing because of his great skills. It's the work ethic. It's putting in the hours, doing what you need to do to be part of the success of this team. And it's also about the mindset.
How many of this team will be there in 4 years' time, or does there need to be significant positioning of the next squad?
A lot of this team will be there. I don't see mass resignations because a lot of these players have never beaten the British and Irish Lions, so some of them will want to push on for the next 2 years just to win against the British and Irish Lions. Then you have that decision: do you push on for the 2 years or do you quit? I think that's where Beast found himself, because after the 2015 World Cup, he sat there, he's like 29, 30, do I push on for another 4 years? I've just lost a World Cup. Let me push on for another year or two and see how good I am. And I think a lot of them will still have it in them.
But who's likely to follow Beast?
I think Dwayne is old enough to pack it up and leave. In the forwards, Vincent Koch, I think maybe 2 or 3 more, but most of them will still be around. So now a lot of these guys will still be around, but also they need to, like I said, it's easier getting to the top. But staying there is the difficult challenge.
Because you can believe that New Zealand are busy doing autopsies now. And that the next time we see this New Zealand team,
that is where Rassie has to be sober-minded. He has to sit and enjoy these 2 weeks, and then afterwards sit and plot how we're going to stay on top, how we're going to get the edge, how we're going to get better. In New Zealand, for example, one of the things they did was go around the world, go to a Ferrari and find out what gave them the edge. Find out from a Real Madrid, find those little things that can make you a better team. You don't get to be the best by being static. You need to go around the world and find little things that can give you the edge, and also work on your weaknesses. I think we can stay there. We just need not just believe, we need to work on certain things. Science can also be our friend. We need to embrace science and work on things that can make this team better. What we don't want is to have a team that's going to grow old. Unfortunately, it's like Sir Alex used to say, sometimes you have to cull certain players to make sure that you maintain certain standards. So
Vanessa, Vicksburg, what's it likely to be like today? Because that's your hometown. Would they be embracing this moment?
Well, the Free State. Well, what's your take on the Free State, really? Because we do have one team member coming from Bethlehem in the Eastern Free State.
Yes. It's actually produced a lot of rugby players.
We have the Cheetahs.
For example, even in this team, there's a couple of players who might not play there, but they've got links to the Free State. Dwayne played his rugby in the Free State. Franz Steyn played his rugby in the Free State. Bongi Bonambi was born in the Free State.
So there is talent, Peter, in short.
There is, and they've got a great school called Grey Bloom, which is one of the best schools in the country. Free State, people of the Free State, they should be aggrieved that the World Cup did not go to the province. But
well, I think they've signed a petition. There's a petition that was going around on social media last night, people saying that why are they not coming to the Free State?
And Limpopo as well.
And in Mpumalanga. And the Northern Cape.
I will reserve my comments on the other provinces. I'll still support the Free State getting at least a little bust for a day. It would be nice to see the World Cup going to bloom at least. They've produced enough quality Springboks over the years and quality coaches. Rassi himself actually made his name at the Cheetahs. They deserve a recognition.
I'm seeing all these rugby jerseys, and Palesa and I on Friday before the final, we can't tell you how hard it was to find one.
It was horrible.
And that speaks volumes to how we were captured by that moment.
Why did you wait until the final?
Because that's how we are.
Wait for the last hour.
No. I think going into any tournament, you guys are like the people who wait until the last minute to go watch a derby.
Or perhaps we didn't think that we'd get that far.
Still, your team needs your support, I think.
But also that they did sell out meant that they had now pulled in South Africa.
But look, you're bound to get that. But the success of this team was the unity. The success of this campaign was the unity. I was astounded when I listened to Rassi talk about the mindset of this team and how it had nothing to do with sport, actually. When he said rugby cannot be pressure, he said people's families are being murdered, people are going home hungry, people don't have jobs and yet they have to feed families. Those were the focal points that this team was talking about, and I'm like, that's a bit different.
How did we get to this Stronger Together? How did they formulate this?
I think Stronger Together was a marketing campaign based on previous successful campaigns. But also this team had moved in a different direction under Sia. Because Sia relied on what he was about. Sia has never shied away from the fact that he does not come from riches. He's never shied away from his story. He's gladly told his story of poverty. He's gladly told his story of his struggles. And people have actually welcomed and warmed up to him because of that. And I think the marketing guys at SABC said, we need to sit and realize. Remember when Sia got his first match at Ellis Park, everyone, both black and white, warmed up to him. I think that was as close as we got to the 95 moment when Nelson Mandela took over Jo'burg. When Sia Kolisi walked out, and the Springboks had struggled leading up to that English series, but when Sia Kolisi walked out of that stadium and literally everyone was standing up, clapping, the whole stadium was warming up to this new dawn that was on us. We had not won anything. It's not like there were backing him because he had achieved any success. He hadn't. But this new change had brought some belief in this team, and everyone was saying, look, we've been so bad, we need to believe in something, we'll give this a try. And it worked for the better.
My goodness. Yeah, if you're just joining us and tuning in, we're bringing you live pictures. It's been a day of parading the Webb Ellis Trophy. The victorious world champions, the Springboks, have been on their bus touring Pretoria, and they've come to Johannesburg. And their final stop today is one of the most famous townships on the African continent, and that is Soweto. Today, the home of the world champions, the City of Gold, and they've just been getting the best reception everywhere they've been today. And it's remarkable. I mean, one might not have thought, you know, soon after democracy, that one day we would see images like this in the heart of Soweto.
You know, another success story about Soweto, which begs the question why it's not bigger rugby-wise. 2010, because of the World Cup, the rugby guys, the Bulls, could not use Loftus to host the Rugby World Cup, the Super Rugby final. So they took the semi-finals and the rugby final to Orlando Stadium, and the success of that should have informed people like the Lions, for example, that look, we've got the stadium, we've got this township on our doorstep. Why don't we use it? Why don't we embrace this place, this gold mine that's right on our doorstep? And we didn't. We saw pictures, not on this magnitude, but we saw people going to Soweto for the rugby match and coming back on Monday. Because they were welcomed into people's homes. The spirit of Ubuntu took over when the Bulls invaded Soweto for those 2 weekends. We're seeing something similar, maybe on a bigger stage at the moment, because this is a national team. Soweto has always been that dynamic township where it's warm, it's embracing of anything that is new and friendly. And this is bringing a great spotlight to their township. It's a great advert for their township.
All right, so I think the question as well is, you had a lot of people on social media over the past weekend who were saying that why are black people celebrating? This is not your sport. Rugby cements apartheid. So this is a huge disappointment for them, isn't it?
No. See, the people who say that are actually not well informed. Rugby is a black person sport as well. Rugby is not a white or a black person sport. Black people have played the game for decades. Black people have played the game for centuries. The Eastern Cape that we talk about has a history of black rugby. The Western Cape has a history of black rugby. The reason why those people might talk about rugby not being a black sport is because they have not been exposed to it. I said to Peter earlier that Kolisi grew up in a rugby environment. His grandfather played rugby.
But could it be due to the slow pace of transformation in the sport?
You could say that.
A little representation of blacks in national teams and other teams?
Maybe. Maybe you could say maybe black players have not been given the prominence and opportunities at the highest level. But there is a very rich history of black players playing both rugby and cricket for centuries. They especially in, I'd say, the Cape Province, which is both the Eastern and Western Cape, even KZN, they've played it for a long time, but maybe because history was not well documented back then, it's hard to get the kind of history that one needs to get. But there is really a rich history of rugby being played in those areas by black people. And like I said, if you go into those areas, when you watch rugby, when you listen to black people talk about rugby in those areas, it's the passion that comes through. And I'm not talking about old people; it's youngsters. The passion that comes through is it's something that has come through the generations, because it's something they've lived. It's more than just a game that they've played. It's something they've lived. Rugby. When you go to the Eastern Cape, for example, and you look at the school derbies between your Dale Selvons, when you go to the locations and you watch Swallows, the African Bombers, the passion with which the game is played, and it's proper rivalries. It's almost as deep as the soccer in places like Gauteng. It really has a long, deep history, but unfortunately, it has not been as documented and has not been given the prominence it deserves.
All right, so we've seen Siya Kolisi being the first black captain for the World Cup. So maybe people would want to see the next coach being black, and we've already had the media throwing around the name of Jacques Nienaber as the possible successor of
Jacques Nienaber. Jacques Nienaber has been thrown around because if you see the challenge, if you bring in someone into this system, they need to work under a system that's already there, a successful system. An independent might come in and try to change things, and it has not always worked. It's a rather unfortunate scenario that we've had in South Africa, whereby for some reason our World Cup winning coaches have not carried on after the World Cup. Coach Christie, for health reason, did not carry on after the 95 World Cup victory. Jake White, for I think more probably political reasons, did not carry on after the 2007 World Cup victory. Rassie has said he wants to step down and focus on his primary job, which is director of rugby. But also, if Rassie steps down, you'd want someone who understands the system. You'd want that continuity.
And when you look at the professional relationship between him, Jacques, and Rassie, they come a long way.
They do. They've been friends since the army days. It's a solid relationship. It's been a successful relationship. They were successful at the Cheetahs, at the Stormers, at Munster, and now at the Springboks. It's a proven relationship over a long period of time. And Jacques, the interesting thing about Jacques is he's never really been head coach of any team because he's always followed Rassie wherever he's gone. So it would be interesting that your first job is being in charge of the world champions. But it would be interesting. In terms of a black coach, one wonders who would take over. There aren't any obvious black names that would just jump into this job purely because there aren't many black coaches who have been given opportunities at the highest level to be in charge of teams.
What went wrong for Peter de Villiers?
Peter de Villiers probably it was more that his employers were looking to move on. He did not do a bad job at all. He was actually very successful. Peter de Villiers beat the British Lions. He was very successful against the All Blacks, which is the yardstick for South African coaches, and that is our main rival. So I think his employers were just looking for a new direction. Purely from a rugby perspective and results point of view, he did not do badly as a Springbok coach. But I think his employers were looking for a new direction, and they gave it to someone who had proven himself to be a winner. Heineke May had won a couple of Super Rugby trophies, and he had coached a lot of the players that Peter had been successful with. So it was. They thought they were doing the right thing, which unfortunately in the end did not really translate to the results that they were hoping for.
Okay, so we're still having these images of this bus carrying the world champions, and they're edging ever closer towards Orlando, where today the people of Soweto who've been littering the streets along the way have been cheering them, but rugby is going to be celebrated in Orlando Stadium today. The Springboks World Cup champions in that bus, and taking in these moments. When they left Australia, I think Japan, they'd been seeing the activity on social media, but it's another thing to arrive at the airport.
To that hero's welcome.
I think it's I was taking bets downstairs saying it's going to get crazier when you get to PE, where the captain is from, and a couple of these players are from. When you get to Cape Town, where some of these players are also from, and also those are rugby strongholds, where you get people who really understand the game, who play the game. It means a lot more to them. that they're going to have that, and also the political background with regards to those areas, because they're also there's a big All Black. It's funny actually, when All Black supporters, when South Africa progressed to the finals, a lot of All Black supporters were saying, look, for the sake of Sia and for the sake of black people, we will support the Springboks for now. So there was that moment, that truce. But I think a lot of people, the whole country will embrace this. It's hard to look away from such visuals. It's hard to not support a team that has done so much good in terms of unifying the country and lifting the spirits of the nation.
Okay, so we take you back now to Vilakazi Street in Soweto. Our reporter Mnigelo Madala is standing by. The bus is still on its way there. It is around Soweto as it is now, so it's still making its way to Vilakazi Street. Mnigelo, good afternoon to you. What's the mood and the feeling like?
The sound tells it all, doesn't it?
No, gives it away. All right, so I suppose you need not ask Peter about the mood and the excitement. The sound, net sound gives it away. Yeah, of course, as you can see, fans are waiting for the arrival of the bus carrying bunch of winners, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, Tando, you're a sports fundi. You've watched all of this. And I'm not sure anybody's asked you how you feel watching this unfold.
Yeah, no, it has actually. No, it's moving. It's this is the sort of stuff I actually never thought I'd see, to be honest. I never imagined we'd have a black player leading the Springboks. I knew one day we'd win the World Cup purely because we've got the talent, but I just never believed that with all the politics in South African rugby, I'd see this. It's heartwarming to see it. It's a real pleasure. It's as a broadcaster, yes, it's lovely to see. But personally speaking, wow, it would be nice to be in Soweto.
It would be good. These are fantastic images. This bus done up in the green and gold of the Springboks, and we've got these motorbikes with cameras capturing the moments as well. All sorts of shots today, and I can only imagine social media, everybody's got that moment when they saw the Springboks, saw the bus, and they waved to them. And Sia and his speeches throughout, you know, there's just, as you say, there's just some people who are able to get a sense of what I need to say today and now. And he seems to come up with the right words and the right spirit every time he speaks.
You know, Peter, as a journalist, you're always looking for real stories. You're always looking for the human factor, the stories you can you can just let themselves play them out. This team is full of stories which you don't need to do much. You just let the person tell their story. These guys have found their identity like that. They've been able to tell their stories. They've been able to find their identity. That is what is great about this team. That is what is great about Sia's stories. I said earlier that the one thing Sia has done well is the fact that he has told his story. He has gladly told people his story of poverty. He has told people his struggle. He has told people that he does not come from the riches that he now enjoys. He has told people about all the struggles that he had.
Has that changed the story? I recognize this bridge. We're literally a hopscotch away from Orlando Stadium now. Has this story changed the way both whites and blacks view rugby in South Africa?
I think firstly, on a personal level, the narrative is changing. There's a bit of tolerance now. There's that there's that moment of, I want to know you a bit better. That is all you want. I think that is the little change that we're talking about. I don't know about the entire holistic change that we all hope for, because we get caught up in the euphoria and we believe in this great moment that is going to change our entire society. Maybe you're not there yet, but look, any step forward is a positive. And when we see people in Soweto, white people, having a good time and enjoying being a South African in a different part of the country, that it doesn't get better than that.
Well, this is Orlando Stadium, isn't it? This is them getting into the precinct, of Orlando Stadium now. So these fans have, a lot of them have been waiting for hours now.
It's been a long time.
Just to capture this moment. I mean, it's brief, but the atmosphere and the excitement leading up to it.
I'm actually checking out the hashtag on Twitter now, hashtag Springbok Champions. A lot of people are posting their pictures. Some people even say that I had to leave work to come and experience this feel. So as we said, it speaks to the unity that we're talking about here in South Africa, a rainbow nation, as we said earlier.
This is exciting, isn't it? So this, as I said, probably live streamed to around the globe. I have family and friends in Zimbabwe that were wearing Springbok shirts on Saturday, screaming for South Africa to win. Because I think sometimes we forget that this is an African victory more than just South Africa.
It's always nice to hear positive stories about the continent, a continent which has suffered greatly, a continent which has not had that many positive stories to tell in the past. But now, whenever we find a moment to do that, whenever we find a moment to bring a positive sunlight on and portray our continent in a positive light, we need to do that and to see this. And I mean, like, I'm sure inside the stadium we'll see Orlando Stadium in all its great glory.
My goodness. Well, they've arrived. They've arrived. Yeah. There they are. Again, we're not sure who's catching these images for the first time, but the Springboks have arrived at Orlando Stadium. They're now going to be getting off the bus and starting to make their way into the stadium, where I have no doubt they're going to receive a massive cheer. And again, more of the appreciation that they've been feeling throughout their journey. And I would say, throughout this World Cup tournament and leading up to it, there were some people who believed there was an outside chance, but more and more as we gathered pace. And then we lost to New Zealand, and I look back and I think maybe that was a blessing, because you don't want to beat someone who's a favourite and then you become cocky.
No, but even in that loss against New Zealand, it's not like New Zealand blew us away. Yeah, we actually had chances to win that match, and so all the people who lost hope after New Zealand, I think that was
didn't watch the match properly.
They didn't. We had plenty of opportunities to win that match, and they should have looked at it with a sober mind. This team always had the potential to win it. There was the doubt always came in when you looked at the other team and the potential that the other teams had shown. And England had shown how great they were. Wales were Six Nations champions. New Zealand were back-to-back World Cup champions. So obviously those were factors to consider, but also we had given New Zealand a tough time in the last 2 years. We had beaten them in New Zealand. We had positive results against them. We had pushed them very close in South Africa. So against them, I wasn't too worried about it. It's other teams that gave me a couple of sleepless nights. Wales, for example, had beaten us. In the last 4 fixtures against them, we struggled. England had a very smart coach in Eddie Jones, and they were very efficient. And so maybe there might have been a bit of doubt, but still, we had the potential. We had a team that was capable of doing it. It was just a matter of temperament. And again, I think for me, the biggest worry was we brought a team which had not won much. We did not have a Super Rugby winning team like the Bulls in 2007. And that was where the temperament question came into being. But that said, this team came together very nicely. And it's rare to find a group of players who genuinely get along, and these guys seem to get along rather nicely.
I mean, this is almost like the kind of script on a big Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
And you start with each character in their childhood, and they have no idea that their destinies are going to meet one day in the future. And these characters all come together at exactly the right time with the right kind of people, and then a story is born.
Rassie Erasmus was looked over for the job when Alistair was given the post. Mzwandile Stick was fired and was made a scapegoat when Alistair was struggling with the team. Siya Tanda Kolisi was looked over as captain of this team. So there's a couple, wherever you go in this team, there's just stories to tell. Faf de Klerk was dropped at the Lions at Super Rugby level. Cheslin was told he was too small to play international rugby. Damien was told he couldn't pass. Lucanio Am was told he doesn't have the physique. Magazola Mapimbi wasn't even playing provincial rugby. It's just stories, there are stories littered everywhere. Peter Steph du Toit was told, you're not good enough to be an international lock, so you might not have an international career. Swapped position, and now he's a World Player of the Year. So
incredible.
Everywhere
we'll
you
talk
go.
about those stories a bit more, because Thabiso Sithole is at Vilakazi Street, I believe. Let's cross to him now, and there must still be quite a buzz there, Thabiso.
Indeed, Peter, thank you very much once again for joining us right at Vilakazi Street. In fact, the buzz has gone up a slight notch, Peter, because the bus was supposed to be here already. It drove up, it drove past us. It looks like it is going further down. In fact, it started at Orlando Stadium. I think that's where it's just gone past now. But the moment we thought the bus was coming up here, the street was packed. A lot of people expecting it to be here. But tell you what, Peter, let's turn to a native of Soweto, somebody who's been here, who's seen it all basically, and our host for today, from next door, the pub and grill that we've been standing by. Someone who's seen it all, so to speak. Sipho Mduli. But Sipho, thank you very much for joining us on SABC News as we wait for SABC, well, for the Springboks to get here. Now, we were speaking about the importance of this particular street, and let's speak about the importance of the Springbok and that black captain who's leading us to this World Cup.
I think it's quite a historic moment for us, Thabiso, especially that you know what Mandela did for the World Cup in 1995. And for Sia to come here, and pay homage to Mandela, not just Mandela, and obviously we have Bishop Tutu's house down the road, and as you can tell, the vibe here, it's amazing. There's something that this street does for people. It just brings the inner excitement. You can see that everyone is here, all colors, all races, all creeds, and yeah, thanks to you guys for affording us the opportunity.
Most importantly as well, we spoke about last time I think we were here broadcasting live on a major event was during the 2010 Soccer World Cup. The buzz was almost the same. Now, I speak of the Rugby World Cup. I know that this particular establishment of yours, you hosted the Rugby World Cup or some of the matches. What has been the reception? Because we know Soweto is a predominantly, footballing township, so to speak. Have people caught on to this rugby?
It was quite amazing for us because we started putting up a big screen when it was the semi-finals, and the reception was amazing because we have a hybrid of both locals and tourists. So when they saw the screen, the chanting, the singing was amazing on the street. And then what we did for the World Cup, we even put up a bigger screen, So it was so packed that the overflow was even on the street, and it was the party went on until 2-3 in the morning. We had to apologize to our neighbors in the morning, but yeah, the mood is amazing, and even tomorrow we still have an after party. We're continuing.
I think that's the question then, isn't it, about the importance of that captain in Siya Kolisi and the importance of bringing the game to everyone, in particular black South Africa, who always view this game as the game of the oppressor, the game of apartheid, so to speak. Do we think we are close to close that gap? Do you think our minds have changed, having seen the transition, the transformation of having a black captain at that lifting a World Cup trophy?
Thabiso, without saying much, but like as they say there,
longest journey, it's a first step, you know. So I think Sia is on the right path, and it's a process of us embracing also rugby as a national sport, as an inclusive sport. It's not an event. It's a process that we have to walk together as a country, as across all colors. So I think, yeah, we are on the right path, and we hope in 4 years' time, you and I will have the same conversation. I know we'll be grayer by then, but yeah, we're hoping that we'll have the same conversation in 4 years' time.
In Inspirational Soweto, we've seen a lot of kids. I know I was asking some of the kids when I was walking in here, their favorite player. A couple of years back, you mentioned something very important this evening. A couple of years back, if you said to a kid, do you know a rugby player? I think none of them would say anything. But now you get the likes of Sia Kolisi, your likes of your beasts, we know they've retired. Is that mindset changing in as far as South Africa? Now let's talk about the broader prospects. I want to bring it back to Soweto per se, because of the history of Soweto, the uprisings 1976, got the Hector Peterson Memorial just up the road. This particular township of Soweto was deep in it in as far as transformation. We spoke to Soweto Rugby a short while ago, and they also feel that a lot more can be done and should be done than just a bus of Springboks driving through.
No, again, it can, as I said earlier on, so it can be an event. It needs to be a process, and part of it is to start to make rugby accessible. And accessible means, for me, is it needs to be played at school level. It should not only be about celebrating the Springboks. It should be part of a school curriculum, not just soccer. And most important, I mean, like for an ordinary folk from Soweto or from any township, should be able to go and watch the Springboks. I mean, if you look now, to take a family of 4 or 5, it's over 2,000 rands. You know, how many people can afford that? So it starts with those little milestones. How many people can afford to go watch the Springboks, especially when they play in South Africa? So it's one of those programs the SA Rugby must start initiating, of making it accessible, not just purely as a celebratory sport. Yeah, so that's where it starts.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And next time, well, they won't, hopefully, if they can't make it to the stadium, they'll come and join you here in West
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, let's see our host right here at a pub and grill right here called Next Door. We've been gracious in hosting us, in particular with SABC News, giving us this platform. And again, Peter, the bus is expected to come up the streets. We'll see there's police there. Already they've cordoned off the street. We expect it to come up any moment now. We know that there's somewhere within Soweto, in a couple of, well, I think just up the road from where that street joins up. On my right, as I look on that side, that is where Hector Peterson Memorial is, and we're expecting the bus to make a U-turn there as well. So the hive of activity right here in Soweto, as you can see from the wide shots, from all the shots we're bringing you, there's great expectation. A lot of people wanted to see that Sia Kolisi. A lot of people want to see those Springboks. A lot of people, myself as well, Peter, I've got this vantage point. I want to take a close-up of that Webb Ellis Trophy as it is once again back home. Over to you back in studio, Peter.
Thabiso, thanks very much indeed. And you know what, it's been a hot day, but I don't know that there's a lot of people that have felt the temperatures, because the excitement takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. You soldier on. It's we don't get many days like this.
Yeah.
We don't get to celebrate World Cup victories every day, so we need to enjoy moments like this.
So, what happens next for this Springbok team? I mean, I remember '95. I was old enough, and it was magical. It was exciting, and we had these scenes, you know, cars hooting and all this joy, and we thought that this would carry us. And for some reason, it's almost like, you know, you go to church on Sunday, you get blessed by the priest, and then by Wednesday,
everything is gone.
The one thing that I remember speaking to former Bok wing Karel Kolisi, and he said one of the curses of '95 is we missed an opportunity to transform the team.
Right.
The team had done well up to that stage, but we didn't have the ability to take it forward. Hence, I said earlier, we must not get into that little mistake with this one. We need to make the changes when we need to make the changes. If we need to get rid of certain players, don't be afraid to make those changes. Don't be afraid to drop certain players. If we need to drop Sia Kolisi in 1 year's time, we must make that decision. For the sake of the team must always come ahead of any individual. We need to make the Springbok important again. We need to value what the team is about. We've brought back pride into this, into the emblem and to the badge. We need to make sure we maintain that, and that takes a lot of work and a lot of. You need to make those big decisions, and we should not be afraid to make those big decisions, and we need to make the right ones. That is the trick one.
All right, so we start preparing for 2023.
Before we need to start preparing for next year. When the guys go into the Super Rugby campaigns, they need to be in the right condition. When the guys go into the international season, they need to be in the right condition. They need to pick the right team, and look at the British and Irish Lions in 2 years' time, which are coming here. That's the next target.
So, I mean, you know, when you're not the favourites, and you come into a team and you're not performing, Siya Kolisi's pressure wasn't as much then. I wonder if he's only now entering the most pressure in the job as captain of the Springboks because they've succeeded.
Yeah, he is, but also he knew what he was getting himself into when he accepted the job. He talked about creating an environment where the Springboks would be the ideal, where people would want to be part of the Springboks, where people would want to aspire to be part of the Springbok team. Again, we are in a fortunate position whereby we could have the continuity by having a Siya around for a couple more years. He's only 28. He could be around for the next couple of years. I don't know if he'll be around at the next World Cup, but hopefully he'll keep his body healthy, and maybe he will. He's young enough to be there. John Smith also hung around for one more World Cup after he won it in 2007. So we'll see. We'll see how far we can take this one with him as captain of the team.
Because up until now, everybody wants to beat Australia, everyone wants to beat New Zealand. Now it's going to be, they turn their game up to beat the world champions, South Africa.
But the reason you get to the top is because you want to be the standard bearer. The reason a Man United or Real Madrid are the best at what they do is because they want to set the standard. You play as hard as you can because you want people you want other people to aspire to get to your standard. We've set the standard. Let's see how long we can make this last. I don't want to jinx it and say we're going to run with it as long as possible for the next 3 or 4 years. Let's just enjoy it and make sure that we stay there as long as possible.
Okay, so Orlando Stadium, this is the scenes that you're seeing, and it's all shades of South Africans coming together at this iconic stadium in Soweto, where the Springboks have arrived a short while ago, and this will be the last, I think, official happening today. I think maybe Vilakazi Street, I'm not sure what the situation is there, but the Springboks there, as you can see them coming through, are heroes. And I think a lot of people are starting to get to know some of the names of some of these players. I remember in the Rugby World Cup, no, the Football World Cup, I was in the Free State, and Bafana were playing France. And this guy from Bloem said to me, "Excuse me, which one is Shabalala?" This was so cute because they'd heard the name. They'd heard the name. And then I suspect there are a lot of people who have heard these names now and want to put faces to them.
And Magazola Mapimpi, that is another name that will be remembered for a while. And it's inspirational stuff, man. When for me, I love the stories behind these guys, where they've come from, how hard they've had to work just to make it to this level, and also the talent that they've possessed.
Wow. That's him taking some selfies. Yeah, selfies. Interesting.
And
So they're celebrating the, sorry Peter,
Yeah.
without the presence of Andre Pollard. who's
Yeah,
injured.
he broke his cheekbone.
Shame, man.
That's what happens when you put your country on the line.
Yeah.
But he delivered for us. He kicked those important penalties, and unfortunately, we saw pictures of him this morning lying in a hospital bed, nursing himself back to health. But look, he'll enjoy many more moments like this in the future. He's a youngster. I think he's in his early 20s. He's won big tournaments at junior level. It would be nice to see maybe join maybe in the last leg of the tour.
If he's better.
Hopefully, yeah.
So Magazola is having pictures taken there. What's his future like?
It's very bright.
Yeah.
Like I said, Magazola
Yeah.
was playing in an Easter tournament in 2014, I think, organized by Dalimpofu in the Eastern Cape. It's literally out in rural Ciskei. There's no glamour towards it. It's people playing for the fun of it. Magazola went on to play for Swallows in Mdantsane, and he took it one step further, played for the Kings when the Kings were in trouble and needed players from the border region.
Wow.
But every time he's been given an opportunity, his talent has come through. He's become a try-scoring machine, both at the Kings and at the Cheetahs and at the Sharks and now at the Springboks. And that's the kind of record you're looking for. There are many stories that we could talk about. But another sad story for me, we talk about the Springboks. A guy like Aphiwe Dyantyie, who missed out on selection to this World Cup squad, but also his is an inspirational story, not because of the drug use, but the fact that he built a career despite not playing first team rugby. People always look at the first team. If you go to a Queen's Dale, you need to play first team rugby to get the professional contract. Aphiwe didn't get that professional contract yet. When he came to Wits, his talent came through, and he managed to get to Springbok level purely on his talent and his grit. Unfortunately, he found himself on the wrong side of the law, but still, for me, the narrative that I choose to look at in that instance is the fact that a youngster who did not have a professional contract after matric managed to get to Springbok level. That takes a certain type of heart and a certain type of talent to get to that level. So there are inspirational stories wherever we look in SA Rugby at the moment, and we just need to find the right ones.
I can't wait for the movie. And there's that picture floating around of a young Kolisi with Schalk Burger. And you wonder of the selfies that have been taken today, in 15 years' time, will we be seeing that young boy who had a picture taken with Kolisi?
That picture was actually it was taken by chance.
Wow.
The Springboks were playing in PE, and they were training at Grey PE. And so as Sia was coming out of assembly, Springbok bus pulls up. So he didn't have a book or anything like that. He just had his hymn book. So Springboks come out and Schalk walks out of the bus. He just took out his hymn book and pushed
him to sign the hymn book.
He got him to sign the hymn book, and a couple of years later, he was teammates with Schalk Burger.
Wow.
And as luck would have it, he made his Super Rugby debut by replacing Schalk Burger.
Wow. And these are the stories that you talk about. I mean, if you dig deep, these random moments actually are all steps towards these massive dream moments that we're seeing now at the moment. And these Springboks being celebrated at Orlando Stadium there. I'm not sure now if this is the final stop or they're still going to get to Vilakazi Street. What do we know?
Should be the final stop here in Gauteng, and as we know that tomorrow they're heading to the KZN in Hlanga and Durban.
And that's also going to be another big parade, no question.
It should be a big parade, but it would be a tragedy if you go to Soweto and you don't go to Vilakazi Street.
Yes.
It's like you've gone to Soweto, but you haven't gone to Soweto. So I'm sure they'll make a little detour there before they get onto the highway.
These are exciting times, momentous times, and you know, it could have been at the beginning of this tournament. A lot of people were looking. I think even Wales had an outside chance of winning this World Cup.
They did. There were Six Nations champions. They had a very good coach, Warren Gatland, who had two positive tours with the British Lions to Australia and New Zealand. They looked good on paper. But unfortunately, they met a very motivated South African side who were not willing to give an inch. And
when did the motivation begin? I know you said it was a big moment appointing Siya as captain, but when did the team start believing?
The team had to. The team for me had to change its mindset. Remember, this team. When people don't watch Springbok games, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
When you get to a Springbok match and
the stadium's empty,
it's a bit of a problem. This is not like the other team where half the stadium is empty. With Springbok matches, no matter how expensive the tickets are, people always go and watch the Springboks play. The narrative around the Springbok was not great, and when Siya took over, it really was not. It was not positive. The brand had taken a huge knock, but the euphoria around Siya taking over, the fact that for the first time ever we had a permanent black captain, we had black people believing in the sense that now we had someone who our own leading the national team. Believing that he was actually there for a while. Hence, you had the rumors all the time saying, Siya's maybe not the real captain, Dwayne will take over at some point. It built up momentum, but for me, the big moment was when Rassie made Siya captain. And the players bought into that. The leadership group bought into the fact that Siya was captain. That for me was the big turnaround for the team. Because from there, within the team, the right conversations started happening.
Who was the biggest revelation of that VOC team now, when you look back and right through to the last game?
It's hard to say because each and every... There are a couple of players who had a big role to play. Makazole Mapimpi forced himself into this team. Last year, Makazole wasn't really part of this team. He wasn't even part of the match day 23, or he was on the outside basically. But as luck and fortune, maybe he's got a strong sangom. People got injured, and through injuries, he found himself replacing Springbok and Aphiwe Jantyi. And every time he got a chance, he just performed, and he would maintain his place. Cheslin Colby came in cold. And every time he played, he showed he was world class. And I think also he didn't show he was good on attack. He showed he was good on defense. That was it's hard to say who was the biggest revelation, because Abonke Mbonambi was on the bench for 2 years behind Malcolm Marx, who was regarded as the best in his position for a long time. But somehow this guy managed to start ahead of him for the whole World Cup. So I can't really pinpoint one player and say this was the biggest revelation. Damien Delinda was written off. But in the end, everyone is saying this guy was solid. This guy was probably one of our best players. All of them had a role to play. Willie Leroux, everyone was saying till the final. You don't drop a player in a World Cup final, but everyone, I think the whole country, was in agreement that, look, if there was anyone we could drop, it was Willie. And Willie was consistent in that final. He caught everything. He did everything we expected a fullback to do. And no one complained after the final. Everyone was saying high five to Willie. He actually proved everyone wrong. So, no, I can't say.
Cometh the man.
Everyone had the temperament. Everyone proved their worth in that team at different stages of the tournament.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing we could talk for hours. But savor these moments, particularly if you're in KZN tomorrow. You may not see this again for some time. We hope to defend our World Cup in 4 years' time, but the odds are against champions retaining it. It's a really, really difficult thing to do.
The last champions defended this trophy, so why shouldn't we? New Zealand won it back-to-back, so let's believe we can do the very same thing. There's nothing that says we can't. We've got just as much talent as them.
Yeah.
We have beaten them. We've given them a lot of trouble in the last couple of years. We are the world champions for a reason, and there's no reason why we should doubt that.
Winning nation, fellas.
Yes, indeed, we are, aren't we? Yeah, so it certainly has been a very long day, of course, for the Springboks. And someone was saying on Twitter the other day, Thando, that we as the nation, we don't really understand and know what these players have to go through in terms of leaving their family behind, in terms of the training, the intensive training, the practice and everything, preparation to the World Cup. So it certainly has been a very long journey for them. It just didn't start a few weeks ago.
It's not. Sia kept talking about the 20 weeks that this team has spent in preparation for this tournament. But this is just 20 weeks within the Springbok camps. There's also time where you need to prepare to be part of the Springbok camp with the Stormers or the Lions or the Sharks. So you need to get into the Springbok setup. It's been a long journey. It's been a long 4-year journey. It's been a testing time emotionally for these players where people were very vocal about how good and how bad these guys were. And somehow there were people who stood by these guys. There were wives and girlfriends who stood by these players.
And some of them were ignoring the DMs.
They had to. They had to.
Pimpi's DM was ignored for 4 years.
They had to. But in all of that, look, they all have their support systems, no matter who they are, whether it's parents, whether it's wives, it's girlfriends, it's siblings. They all have their different support systems, and those people played a very big role. Like we talked earlier about Sia playing for Grey PE. That would have meant him leaving his grandmother and staying in hostel.
All right. Tell you what, we need to go back to the Orlando Stadium now. Our reporter Mnigelo Madala is standing by. Mnigelo, good afternoon to you. Once again, I see you surrounded by a number of fans there at Orlando Stadium. What's the mood like?
Good afternoon, Peter, and your people in studio. The Springboks are about to drive out of Orlando Stadium, but the big story out of Soweto today is that people waited on Vilakazi, people waited at the Hector Peterson Museum, and it seems the Springboks are not going to get to those 2 spots, and they're about to leave the stadium now. We hear that they're going over to the airport.
All right, so talk to us about the kids that are there. What are they saying to you?
There's a lot of dissatisfaction, as you can hear and see, Peter. The people are not happy that they didn't get to meet their heroes from the World Cup. But as it stands now, the Springboks are driving out of Orlando, and we gather they're leaving for the airport. I'm guessing to get to Durban for tomorrow's leg of the trophy tour.
Miguel, are you going to talk to some of the fans there just to get a feel as to how they are feeling? They've seen these champions now. Just a few of them.
Let me speak to one person here, Baba.
Orlando Stadium, welcome, Box! But we are not happy. The police closed the gates. We are not able to get inside.
Masingezwa nje kusonakho eOrlando saphuma nje kade silele siphumulele sewuma sizwa sajabula kakhulu suMzantsi Afrika siyabonga.
As you can see, Peter and your guests, it's madness out here. The people are not happy because they didn't get to meet their heroes, but in the same breath, They are celebrating the victory of the World Cup.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's where we'll leave it there with Minakelo, but we'll keep those images there. That's the victorious world champions, the Springbok team leaving Orlando Stadium now and leaving Orlando generally, and we believe they're going to the airport. So Vilakazi Street and Hector Peterson precinct didn't get the opportunity that they were hoping to get, but those that were at Orlando Stadium, excited, selfies taken, moments remembered, but it will be bittersweet for many.
It's a real pity because look at if you want to go to iconic venues, even if you stop over there for 5 minutes, you don't have to stop there for a long time. I think you would have made that little pass, but decisions have been made. The logistics people have made those decisions based on whatever information they have. But look, ultimately, some people saw them, and at least we're grateful for that. Because we all know the cost of watching a Springbok match is rather steep, and at least for a moment, those few fans got to see their heroes. And yeah, they got to see them up close and personal, and they got to take those selfies with them, and maybe even a glimpse of the trophy.
I guess, you know, like you said, there was an opportunity for the Lions maybe to play more games at Orlando. This could be another one of those moments where you bring the game to the grassroots.
You're right there. That's the thing. You've already made the hard yard. You're already in Soweto. It's 2 streets away. You might as well just make the turn. The Lions play at Ellis Park. There's nothing wrong with taking 2 or 3 games to Orlando Stadium and saying, guys, this is for the people. You're not going to lose much in terms of revenue because you can even make it for free and make money elsewhere. But look, people make these decisions, and sometimes you wonder what informs them, because sometimes you need to understand that to grow the game, you need to think about the greater good, and you need to appeal to the bigger audience, which does not always have the money that you're always seeking.
And it's something that I've seen with other sports. I mean, I know the NFL, for example, will go play at Wembley in the UK just to build up that audience. These big basketball franchises will go and play a match in China just to build up those audiences. So there certainly has to be, I guess.
They're making a turn now, so it looks like they're going to make that 5-minute pit stop.
So they've probably figured that there's just no way they can't not do it.
Sensible pit stop. So I think it makes sense to just drive past for 5 minutes, even if you don't even get off the bus, just a little drive past, just to show appreciation to the people who've spent the entire day waiting for you. They matter, they will support you, and you never know, maybe the next year Kolisi is sitting next to Tabiso there at Sakumzi, not having a beer but waiting for Siya Kolisi to drive past.
And there he is, lifting the trophy, the Webb Ellis Trophy, World Cup, World Champions. And again, scenes that a few years ago they could not have imagined. Siya Kolisi probably never dreamed of being captain of the Springboks.
He never dreamed. Well, he would have liked to be, but I don't think he thought it was possible. When you look at the dynamics, there were other people also at that time. When he got into the Springbok team, there were people like Warren Whiteley, who was leading a very successful Lions team. So you would have thought other people would get the chance ahead of him. Dwayne Vermeulen was rumored to be coming back. So Dwayne was already an established Springbok. So he was a bit low in the pecking order, and he wasn't. And unfortunately, the previous regime under Heineke Meyer had not given him the caps that he needed to be a senior player in the team. I think when he got the captaincy, he had less than 10 caps.
All right, you know what?
Yeah. All right. As you can see now, they're making their way into Vilakazi Street. Let us catch up now with our reporter, Tabiso Setolo. Tabiso, A lot of people were disappointed that the Springboks did not pass by at Vilakazi Street. So here they are, the champions at Vilakazi Street. What are the people saying?
Indeed, Palisa, I must tell you, it's the moment we've been waiting for. The bus made a turn. In fact, it went past where we thought it was going to come through, drove past the streets. We expected to turn up into Vilakazi Street and went to Orlando Stadium. It has just left Orlando Stadium, as you can see at the bottom of the shot. There it is. That is the bus that a lot of people in Soweto have been waiting for, to see that Webb Ellis Cup trophy drive through the iconic Vilakazi Street. Remember, this Vilakazi Street is important for a couple of reasons. It's got 2 Nobel laureates. The house of Nelson Mandela is to the left of the shot, behind the camera as it were, and then just at the bottom that is the home of Desmond Tutu. So quite iconic, and I think it would be a miss if the bus did not make a turn here. And from here, Palis, as you can see those pictures, our viewers at home can see, from here this bus will be making its way just up to the Hector Peterson Memorial. Significance of Hector Peterson Memorial is that, well, Kolisi was born on June 16 as well, so quite important for the bus. As you can see, hordes of fans coming in. The bus is making its way slowly up the street. Hopefully we can get a glimpse. I'm going to ask my cameraman to zoom in a bit more so that we get a clearer picture of exactly who's in front. But Kolisi there being in front of the bus, on top of it carrying that Webb Ellis trophy. We've seen those pictures throughout the morning, stemming from the Union buildings all the way through to Braamfontein, central Johannesburg, through Tshwane, when they visited the mayor's office. Kolisi, well, basically the name on everyone's lips in as far as the Springboks is concerned. Well, there you have it. It's been a long morning. It's been a hectic morning, but this is the last stop of the Springboks Trophy Tour in Johannesburg anyway. Remember, from here it moves on to Durban, it also moves on to Cape Town, moves on to East London, as well as Port Elizabeth, where we're going to have more scenes such as these. Let's just soak it in a little bit, Palisa. I want to keep quiet for now. I know it's not me you want to listen to. It's the people out there who are more important. And let's see how they feel as the bus drives up Vilakazi Street, the iconic Vilakazi Street, right here in Soweto.
Look at this. All right, so there you have it. I mean, these, Tando Palesa, these images speak volumes about where we are, what the potential of this country is actually, to see the national rugby team being celebrated in this way in Soweto today.
This is amazing. This is nice to see. This is nice to see the World Cup being brought to the street where 2 great leaders resided. Both leaders, the arch is probably smiling in Bishop's Court in Cape Town, being very proud of the boys who have done very well for the country. The Mandela family is also very proud of such moments where the team is respectful enough to bring the trophy to the spiritual home of the Mandela family. This is brilliant to see.
Yeah, way bigger than what we saw back in 1994.
Way bigger, and this is why people play the game. This is what Sia would have dreamed of as a kid.
So, I mean, the black players get this. They know this. This is their hood. They've grown up in this. I'm just wondering, the white players in this team, a lot of them are probably getting a really good sense of where some of their support is in the country. I won't say a wake-up call, but an awakening, I guess.
When Brent from Newland said after the World Cup final, they asked him what he had said to Sia, and he said he had whispered in his ear that he was glad he saw Sia lift that trophy. Wow. He understands. This team, these guys understand. They consciously understand where the country is. And I think white people at the moment also understand how the country has transformed as a nation. If we're going to move forward, we need to have a change of mindset, and a lot of people have had a change of mindset. A lot of people have had that forward-thinking movement, whether it's in the office place or on the sporting field. The leaders, there is that change.
So, if again you've been watching the broadcast this afternoon and since this morning, we're coming to the tail end, and in many ways a spectacular end to the Bok Victory Parade that's been started in Pretoria. It's moved across Gauteng to Johannesburg and the inner city, and now to the most iconic, one of the most iconic townships on the continent, actually. And on the ground, watching these images, is Thabiso Sithole. Let's go to him now so that he can describe some of what he's feeling and what he's seeing there on Vilakazi Street in Soweto. Thabiso?
Well, Peter, as you can see, you just saw the bus drive, past us a couple of seconds ago. In fact, it's going just up to another route, as I said, the Hector Peterson Memorial. There, of course, we've got facilities standing by as well to welcome the team, at the bus when it gets to that point. But you can see throngs of fans, throngs of supporters. They're still lining the streets right here on Vilakazi Street, all of them wanting to catch a glimpse. And of course, Kolisi being the man, being on the name on everyone's lips as far as this World Cup's concerned. And the symbolicness, Peter, as just sitting with him in studio, the symbolism of this trophy coming up the street of Nelson Mandela, the street of Desmond Tutu.
All right, okay, so struggling with the signals there, but as I was saying a bit earlier on, you know, when you have so many people fighting for space on the communication system, these kinds of things can happen. Yeah. But as Thabiso was saying, Thando, it's emotional, you know, to see these images and just to get a sense of this historic moments that we're witnessing.
It has to be emotional for each and every South African, purely from a national pride point of view. But we also owe it to ourselves to carry on this momentum, to make sure we have many moments like this. We need to find many reasons to be proud of our nation, whether it's on a rugby field, whether it's on the business field, no matter where it is. We need to find reasons, good reasons to tell good stories of this beautiful country that we live in.
Right, so that's the Springbok team, their bus still tracing their way through Soweto there, and kids running alongside the bus, and one gets a sense that they also appreciating just how historic this moment is. So I'm very just excited to see these guys that have been talked about, that have been on the TV screens and that they'd heard named in some of the radio commentaries. And I heard one commentary, I think it was Sutu, and they were talking about Shampopo, Shampisi. It was brilliant.
That's part of sport. You need to have, I think if you're worth your salt, you need to have a nickname, and the good ones normally have nicknames. Yeah. So like I said, Mapimpi has found many good places in people's hearts.
These are brilliant scenes.
Right, so they're heading to the OR Tambo International Airport now to catch their flight to Durban. So we'll be witnessing sort of similar scenes tomorrow in KwaZulu-Natal when they, of course, have that parade in that province tomorrow.
Yeah, these are fantastic scenes.
So Thando was saying earlier on, there might be a Kolisi there running behind the bus.
You just never know. Inspiration comes from the weirdest of places, and we should never underestimate small beginnings. You never know where the next Kolisi is coming from. Someone who was probably sitting there thinking, I want to be that and more. And this is where they're drawing inspiration. This is how they're going to get their wings. They want to be standing on a bus, a probably fancier bus than this, but you never know where the next superstar will be coming from.
Wow, what a moment for Kolisi. I mean, he's there on top of the bus at the moment, lifting this trophy, probably getting a workout there, growing his biceps a little bit more. But you know, you can't even imagine these moments, how they're going to feel. You hope to be there one day, but this is something really special for him.
It definitely is, and I think in the conversations the teams would have had, this is what they were talking about when they said they want to bring back pride into the nation. This is what they were talking about. None of them played in the 1995 World Cup, but they probably dreamt of something of this magnitude. They wanted to bring pride into a nation. They wanted to bring the nation together and make them feel proud just to be South African.
And it is a hard World Cup to win. I mean, this is a phenomenal achievement, and that sometimes we forget when we get caught up in the excitement. But these were warriors. When I saw them take their tops off, they were all bandaged up because they've been through war.
It is, from a conditioning perspective, you don't get to this level overnight. You go through a program, and it's quite an intense program, because even a guy like Kolisi, when he had his injury just before the international incoming tours in June, he went on a hectic program. I remember seeing him when I was down in Cape Town for the Red Bull Formula 1 exhibition, and he said to me, "Look, I'm 6 weeks away from playing." And I looked at him, and his knee was in a cast, and I'm like, "See, are you sure you're only 6 weeks away?" And he said, "But I've got some hectic rehab program, but I am 6 weeks away just from playing, and best believe I'll be at the World Cup." The coach has spoken to me, and he said he will make sure that I'm at the World Cup. That's the thing. That's the faith Rassie Erasmus has had in his captain. And the relationship these two have had, man, I hope this has a beautiful ending if it ever ends. They have done something great. The two of them have led this country to a beautiful moment, and that's all we're looking for.
And we mustn't forget as well, and I was quite happy when on the field, when the pictures were being taken, it wasn't just the players. Because it is everybody around them that makes it possible for them.
There's the moment where Brian Abana, who was working for the BBC, Sia was going around the field, and he met Brian on his victory lap, and he had this big hug, because Brian knows Sia very well. They played together at the Stormers. Sia made his Springbok debut when Brian was still at the Springboks, and he knows the Sia Ntanda Kolisi story very well. You remember he addressed the Laureus membership this one time, and he talked about how he had privilege because when he was growing up, he used to choose what brand of boots he'd want his father to buy him, and he said Sia didn't have that privilege. Sia sometimes would go to bed hungry, but Sia had the resolute mind to stay focused and keep on dreaming that one day he'd be something great, and to see him lead now, and it's inspirational stuff. You need to understand the context of this leader. This is not just any leader. He's not like a John Smith. He's not like a Francois Pienaar, who come from relative privilege. He really has done well as a person, and he's an inspiration, not just to the rich and the poor. He's an inspiration to a country that is in need of a good story to tell.
Yeah, talking about leaders, we understand that Parliament is also set to pay their congratulatory tributes to the Springboks. That will happen, of course, next week. So you'll have all members of Parliament from across all political spectrum honouring the winners. The Springboks, though, will not be present at the National Assembly on Tuesday due to this particular tour that they have embarked on. However, we understand they will make that short stop for a photo opportunity the day before Parliament arrive there on the National Assembly steps. So we all are taking pride in this victory.
Yes, we should. And we should not be getting our congratulations from Prince Harry. We should all be proud of this team. This team has done a whole lot of good for our national pride. It's brought back a big sense of belonging, man. We kind of lost our way over the last couple of years. The 12 years also a lot can happen in 12 years. But this moment has made us proud to be South African.
Yeah. All right, another one of our reporters who's on the ground is Mnekelo. Let's go to him right now. I think he's still at Orlando. I'm not sure where he is at the moment. Mnekelo, where are you? In fact, he's at Hector Peterson, I believe. What is happening there, my brother? All right, so the bus going back via Orlando Stadium now, and they're going to make their way towards the highway, and that'll take them back to the airport, where they'll start their journey towards Durban, where the parade is going to be taking place from tomorrow. So it's been a busy day, and ending on the iconic Vilakazi Street, and the Sowetans really embracing their champions and giving them thanks for the joy that they've brought millions and millions of South Africans, both here and abroad, and Africans in general across the continent that have been basking in this moment and these moments that the Springboks have brought to South Africans, and as Tando, you were saying earlier, you know, bringing pride. And what I wanted to, the point I was trying to make earlier on is that, you know, often the backroom staff, from the physios to all of the people that create an enabling environment for these players to do what they do, we don't know their names, but these players appreciate them so much.
I mentioned a couple earlier. Jacques Nina ran our defense. We only conceded 4 tries in this tournament, which is an amazing feat. Mzwandile Stick, who was fired and made a scapegoat by media also, who did not treat him kindly when Alistair Coetzee was struggling. He did not get the credit he deserved, and Rassie had the faith in him. It was another great thing that Rassie did. He had the faith in him. He brought him back and said, you run the off the ball and skills training for this team. And off the ball, this team is probably the best in the world. Skills, we look at a player like Magazona Mapimpi is a testament to the training that a guy like Mzwandile Stick has invested in him. It's those skills that created that World Cup winning try. It's people like that have helped us achieve this World Cup victory. We don't always give people in the backroom staff the plaudits they deserve, but they really, and to the credit of these guys, they haven't gone out and looked for the limelight. They've quietly gone about their business, and they've let their work do the talking, and those that are students of the game have seen the results of their work. It's been a pleasure to watch this team transform every match by match, and seeing players become better at what they do because of the good work these guys have done. The conditioning has also improved a hell of a lot, and that is what you're looking for in coaches.
So magically, this coach is back at Orlando Stadium. I think they're going to change their coaches to the coaches. This is the sightseeing, the one open top where they can be seen by the crowds. Is that Rassie Erasmus that's just stood up there at the top? So you know all of these players better than us. Who are we seeing?
Wow, I can't see now. Let me look. That's Andy, the media manager. I'll tell you.
I mean, these heroes, a lot of them names that will stay with us for some time.
Yeah, Malcolm Marks, the hooker. That is part of the digital team. I guess it was really part.
So there's a massive operation to get the box out there, because and the beast Mtawarira, and I can tell you Zimbabwe are saying we also won the World Cup.
They did, and he actually played a huge role in this World Cup victory. the character of this man, a lot of people wrote him off about a year ago saying he's finished, he's come back stronger. That final, his performance for that 45 minutes he was on the field was phenomenal. He broke down the English in the scrums. They had no answer to him in the scrums. Actually, a lot of people were surprised when him and this man, Frans Malherbe, were taken off after 45 minutes. Another man who's had a superb season, Kwagga Smith, for the Lions. He pushed himself very hard this season, almost played in the Springbok 23. But unfortunately, we are blessed with many good loose forwards. So we could only pick so many players.
And also, I guess, you know, as you're saying that they played 45 minutes, but Rassie Erasmus knew that this is what he needed and that they were going to give him 80 minutes in 45 minutes.
That's exactly what they did. They broke the camel's back in that 45 minutes, and their performance gave us the victory, the platform that we needed to lay down the victory. They were phenomenal. That front row performance, Bongi Bonambi, another one, who was superb both in the tight phases and in open play. It was a superb effort by all of these guys. Even the famous bomb squad also put in a superb effort. So, like I said, it's even hard to pinpoint any single player. Every single person in this team has put their hand up and contributed.
All right, so you also have Peter Steph du Toit, the Global Player of the Year. His contribution to the team? Amazing.
He's become World Player of the Year after changing positions. That's quite a feat on its own. He's playing on the flank. It's not his natural position. He's naturally a lock, but he's adapted so well. His work ethic, his attitude has made him a phenomenal player. He was flying into tackles in that match. He was knocking people back, killing all the momentum in that final. England really struggled with that because they couldn't go forward because of tackles like the ones Peter Steph was putting in. Kolisi was also doing the same. So Peter Steph would hit them back behind that vantage line. As soon as they passed the ball, Kolisi would follow with another hit. So it was a bit of an onslaught on the poor English. But when you're desperate for a World Cup, that's the kind of thing you get when you're on the receiving end.
A lot of them walking to the bus looked quite relaxed, but I can imagine that there's still lots of aches and pains because it's been war.
It's been war, but I don't think it will hurt as much after seeing what they've seen today.
Yes.
I think their spirits would have been uplifted. I think their view of the country will be a better one. I think they will understand the country a lot better after spending the day with the people of the country. The conversations they had within the team have now been magnified. They see the country in a different light. So this is a brilliant exercise for a team that's victorious. I always worry when a team goes in a parade before a tournament like some team did in 2010. But this is what you're looking for. This is inspirational stuff.
Wow, very, very exciting. So yeah, you're starting to see the end of today's celebrations. The Springboks are now boarding the coaches that are going to take them to the OR Tambo International Airport for their journey towards Durban. But it's been a long and celebratory day. And thousands and thousands of fans across Gauteng have been able to catch a glimpse of the team as their bus travelled across two cities in particular. And it continues. Tomorrow it will be Durban, and the other province that will get an opportunity, Western Cape.
Yes, the Eastern Cape, East London and Port Elizabeth, and then the final leg of the tour will be in the Western Cape province.
And also the images, I keep going back to the final afterwards, and it's to be able to share it with the families.
Yes.
That was very special.
The families have sacrificed a lot for this. The wives have sacrificed a lot. They've had to take care of kids, though for those who are married. Also, those who are not married, they've got their support systems. But it's a moment that everyone should be enjoying, even the kids themselves. because a professional rugby player spends a lot of time away from home. A guy like Tendai Mtawarira, he's played for a good part of 12 years. Now that's a lot of sacrifice with regards to your family. His kids don't see him that much. His young family hasn't seen him that much. So I suppose now that he's retired from international rugby, he'll have a lot more time to spend with his young family and grow that family.
And it was such a proud moment for Kolisi to have his father watching him in the finals.
Yes. That is an important one, because no matter what has happened in the past, you must always respect the role a person has in your life. He was there when he first led the team. He was there when Sia made his debut. He was there at the World Cup. He was there when Sia lifted the trophy with the president by his side. Those are important moments. And just like he would like to share those moments with his kids and his siblings, he shared that moment with his father, setting a very good example for other young fathers out there to share in the successes with their kids.
Yeah, exciting. We can't believe that there's been only one story today, but it seems as if, particularly for us, it seems it's like it's been 5 minutes, because each moment and each location has had its own little story to tell, with the many thousands of fans that managed to catch a glimpse of these heroes. And sometimes we forget just how big some of these players are. I remember I got into a lift in Cape Town, one of the hotels, and the Springboks were in there. And I walked in and I looked up to catch because they just, these are athletes of significance.
You are living the good life, Peter. You're sharing hotels with Springboks.
He's made it in life.
No. They are big physical specimen, and they're also they're super athletes, and you don't get to this level by being ordinary, and physically you need to be at the top of your game, and you need to be the best and the biggest at whatever you do.
Okay, so Rassie Erasmus has stepped down at the height, and that's great for him. Because his name is etched in history now and will be remembered as a champion. The next guy coming in, the standard has been set.
Yeah.
It is a big task now, whoever takes up the job.
The next person who takes over has to understand what winning a World Cup is. And yeah, good luck to them.
It's going to be a tough one.
Good luck to them. Talking about success, imagine in Cape Town at the final leg of this tour, Cheslin Colby will rock up with his winner's medal, and then I'm sure Wade van Niekerk, since there is no tour to Bloem, will be waiting there with his gold medal as his cousin, and they'll be having a couple of selfies there with their success stories for the whole world to see. But whoever takes over for the Springboks has some big shoes to fill, no matter who it is, and I think they understand the enormity of the task that lays ahead for them.
Just how fast are Colby and Mapimpi?
Cheslin, it's easy to see him because you can see he's really fast. Mapimpi is deceptively fast because when you look at him run, you don't think he's that fast. I realized he's really fast when I saw him play a Super Rugby game against the Lions, and he intercepted and Colonel Skosan, who's very fast, tried to chase him down, and he just seemed to open up the gap every meter he took. Mapimpi is fast. He's really fast. There's a reason he scores as many tries as he does. It's because of his pace. And he's also a very smart player. His spatial awareness is really top class. Those are things that make him a great player that he is.
Yeah. So these are now the final images of the sun slowly starting to find the horizon and set on a day that's been a day of celebration. And people experiencing it, some on the streets, some on the bus routes, and others just watching it on television and also experiencing it on social media. I can imagine that Twitter has been ablaze, Vanessa.
Yes, indeed. Of course, the hashtag has been trending since this morning, and a lot of people, as I said, I don't know if people didn't go to work today, people skipped school today, because in the morning you had a huge number of fans already waiting on the Springboks.
I'll put it like this: if the boss actually went to work themselves, the boss would have been fielding a lot of signals this morning.
Did we miss the memo here?
I think we did miss the memo. But no, man, I think it's a good cause. I think if people put in a couple of hours at work and went on national duty, then it's a fair thing to do. This is a once-in-a-lifetime moment. To say you were there when the Springboks went on their victory parade, to say you were there when the Springboks brought the William Webb Ellis Cup to the people, to say you have seen this great trophy. Those are once-in-a-lifetime moments.
This next question, I know it's a difficult one because each moment is a moment, but what would you say when you look back at this World Cup campaign were the big moments for you that got us to where we are?
The big moments, I think Japan for me was a crucial moment because that tested our temperament. We took on the world and a nation which was playing good rugby. Japan were not just a host nation; they really had played good rugby. They'd beaten a very good Ireland team. They'd beaten a decent Scotland team. They looked decent on the eye when you were watching them play rugby. Beating them for me confirmed my low belief that these guys have the capability to beat, to go all the way, and also the temperament, the attitude of this team when the SABC thing came through. You sort of wondered what the attitude was going to be going to the New Zealand match. They played very well considering that the SABC issue was lingering in the background. Those were the two big moments for me.
Yeah, and everyone will have their favourite moments of the Rugby World Cup finals, but yeah, it's been a remarkable story, a significant chapter in South African rugby history, and these guys that were lucky to have been picked for these squads and represent their teams, and bringing back those that have gone home injured and bringing them back into the squad again. That's the magic of it all, isn't it?
Trevor Nyagan and Jesse Creel. I remember seeing Trevor when he had broken down after the first match, and then you drive to Pretoria to go do some work, and then you see Trevor training by himself. It's a difficult one for any player to get through, and then you see the posts every day that this guy is still in the gym, even though the World Cup is over. He's still in the gym, working hard. That's the attitude of the man, keeping positive despite the chips being down. Same with Jesse Creel. And to seeing Trevor crying almost in tears, well, he was in tears after the final whistle, appreciating what the team had done, even in his absence. That says a lot about what this group of players have achieved.
All right, so we see the hashtag trending on social media. A lot of people have posted their pictures, a glimpse of what they were able to capture this morning and even now. Would love to hear from you at home. Watching all this live images and visuals coming from the different locations here in Gauteng, how do you feel? So this is the number to dial. Please talk to us. Let's put the number on the screen now so that you can call in and speak to us. Tell us how you're feeling right now. The number is 011 714 4684 4682 6841, 6842 or 6843. 714 6841, 6842 or 6843 using the Johannesburg code 011.
All right, so give us a call. Let's hear from you. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling today? You've seen the parades. Perhaps you were there at one of them. Share your thoughts with us. And we've been painting this story as one of unity, stronger together, and an opportunity for South Africa to find another step. It's been a difficult time, yes. The economy not great, yes. But we have to live and enjoy the victories as we go along the way to that destination that we're trying to reach. So what are your thoughts about that story and that narrative that's playing out, that moments like this do bring a nation together? Are you feeling that togetherness? Are you feeling that sense of, yes, today I belong to something bigger than myself?
All right, and we've got the first caller on the line, Tumba, calling us from Tembisa in Gauteng. Good afternoon to you, Tumba. How are you feeling?
It's very exciting to see Springbok arriving here in South Africa with the Gold Cup here in our country.
Were you able to see them? Were you in Johannesburg to see them?
No, unfortunately, I've been watching in the TV, but it's very exciting.
What has excited you the most about all of this, Tumba?
Come again?
What has excited you the most about this whole Rugby World Cup, apart from winning, of course?
I think Tumba has his television set on, that's why he's unable to hear us. Nomonde
Yes.
from Kagisho, good afternoon. Hello, Nomonde.
Hello, yes.
Hi, how's it? How are you feeling watching all the activities unfolding?
So excited, given the economic conditions that we are in and the box set to come and bring the trophy home. It is extremely exciting for the country. I am over the moon. I just want to say well done to the box and to Sia. He brought hope to those young boys, black boys who wanted to play rugby. And, we South Africa indeed are alive with possibilities.
How's everybody at home and around your neighborhood been enjoying this?
Oh, Kagiso was alive here. Even those young boys who did not even know how to play rugby, everyone was wearing your green tops, laughing. My younger son, he's like 13, he's not a sports fan, but he was sitting and watching with us. We were extremely excited. So my township, I tell you, it was buzzing. Vuvuzelas, people singing, it was just happening.
Wow, beautiful indeed. No more than talking about the current economic status of us. Someone was saying that not even Moody will dampen our mood over the weekend. Voya calling us from Rustenburg, Kobukoni Bupirima. Good afternoon to you. Siyaphila baba.
Ngifuna ukuthi mama sisi eyona nto ndibonayo iSouth Africa idibene nqa.
And then wena nje, how you feeling?
Ndivuya kakhulu mama and futhi ndivuya kakhulu ngendlela ekuyiyo beSouth Africa. Kuyabonakala ukuba abantu eSouth Africa iyaphambili. Wonke umuntu usendleleni eSpringboks.
All right, Vuyo, thank you so much for your call. Vuyo calling from Rustenburg saying that it shows that South Africa is united now, and as a result, we are moving forward as one nation.
Okay, Tumi is in Rudaport.
Yeah.
Tumi, how are you feeling today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
No, we are enjoying and celebrating, and I'm celebrating with you because it's such a special day. What have you been doing today?
It has been a wonderful day today. South Africa was different. I mean, I was at work by Standard Bank, and the whole street was just full. I'm so happy. I have all mixed emotions.
Wow. How are you?
Some pictures, it was so beautiful.
Have you always been a rugby fan, Tumi?
Not really. I want to lie. I've never been a fan.
But I bet you are now.
Now.
You are now, aren't you?
Yes.
All right, Tumi Ralebwa, thank you so much to me from Rudaport, the excitement in her voice.
So Tando, again, we sometimes don't fully appreciate, and when we're hearing these calls and where they're coming from, it really has touched so many people.
Yes, Something like this impacts every corner of the country, and hence you get people being aggrieved about the trophy not coming to their part of the country. But still, I think everyone appreciates the effort that the team has made to reach everyone. I think that the team would like to speak to every part of the country, but still, they appreciate the messages. They do get the messages through social media. The team does make sure that they have an idea of how many messages of encouragement are coming through from the public. It's important for them to understand the appreciation.
All right, let's take one more caller on the line. Kazikulu Ogo Piputi, good afternoon. Hi, Kazikulu. Kazikulu, good afternoon. Where are you calling us from? All right, no, Kazikulu is not on the line. Amriko is in Mahike. Good afternoon to you, Amriko.
How are you, Palesa?
I'm all right, and how are you, Buti?
I'm super duper fantastic.
And how are you feeling?
Eish, wena how tlhaloganye man.
Ke a tlhaloganya wa itsira.
Eish, yo wena. Eish, yo waiting ne. Hope, unity, togetherness. We are all together. And for the first time, our country is going the right way.
So, were you watching the broadcast?
I was watching, and I was watching.
Were you watching alone? Were you watching with friends?
Yes, family? I was watching. Let's see that guy.
Bareng batho ba Mahikeng ka di Springbok.
You would have seen the bride that we had with us.
Now you're making us hungry. Thank you so much, Amriko from Mahikeng. Oluetu is in Soweto. Good afternoon. Oluetu, good afternoon to you.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm alright, and you, Oluetu?
I'm good. Man.
So you're in Soweto. Were you at Vilagazi this afternoon?
I just got back from work. What a great excitement I'm seeing out on the street. I just got home now, seeing all these people celebrating. It's so wow, man. It's so great. So nice to see South Africa united as this. We're wishing to see more even when it goes to football.
How important was it for the trophy to come all the way to Soweto?
Pardon?
How important was it for the trophy to come all the way to Soweto?
That is so wonderful. It actually unites us. We're supposed to be one. To see the guys that your Kenyan talent, they're walking, like going through the streets, seeing how happy we are for them. Everyone happy to the pocket, go pocket, keep it up there.
All right, thank you so much, Oluetu, staying in Soweto. Lorraine, good afternoon. Where about in Soweto are you?
I'm in Muletsani.
In Muletsani. So what's the mood like in Muletsani?
Yo, I was in Pretoria this morning. Yo, it was hectic. Yo, it was so hectic today.
How are you feeling? What's this victory saying to you?
I don't even know how to explain. You know, I went there to deliver some documents, but yo, I
couldn't.
I'm so happy. I saw everybody. I have pictures, videos, everything.
Wow.
Also, you're able to take selfies and pictures.
Yeah, I took pictures, videos, everything.
All right.
Wow,
Yeah.
very. All right, so from Soweto we go to
Cape Town.
Cape Town,
Yes.
oh, Western Cape. Remy, how are you feeling today? And you know that the Springboks are on their way. They're going to be in the Western Cape as well. But how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very excited. I wish Monday is very far to reach.
It looks like we've lost that call. The numbers are on your screen there. The last four numbers are alternatives. So you can either dial 011-714-6841 or 42 or 43.
All right, we go to Soshanguve now, where Pindile is calling us from. Pindile, good afternoon to you.
Hi, Ninjani.
Siyaphila sisi, wena unjani?
Ngiyaphila. Yo, kumnandi ukubona abafana bamabhokobhoko ePretoria.
So wena uthathile ama-selfies, ama-photos, ama-videos?
Yeah, anyway, bengisemsebenzini, but benginaphezulu ngibabhekile.
Oh, but at least ubabonile sis, angithi?
At least ngibabonile, go Peggy.
Thank you. All right, she was at work. Ntombi, all the way from Thoyando. Ndimatsiyari Ntombi?
Urini.
Ndovuwa wena urini?
Ndovuwa.
So how are you feeling?
Yo, I'm overwhelmed. I'm so happy. And this unity that we have in the Rainbow Nation, I've been watching them Saturday or Artambo today since from in the morning. I'm so happy for the Springbok.
Wotakala ngamanda. All right, so we're going to Tembisa.
Tembisa. Pulani, how are you, my brother?
My sister.
Oh, is it my sister? Yeah. Hello, Pulani. Hello? How are you, my sister?
Very well, thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling so happy, and I celebrated with them yesterday at MultiChoice. It was so fantastic to see them. And I'm so happy for the South Africans to be united because of them. So what they've done is a great thing that they did to us.
How is Tembisa today?
Oh, Tembisa is very hot, quiet, unlike Soweto.
Thanks so much indeed, Pulani.
All right, so from Tembisa back to Cape Town we go now, where George is. George, good afternoon to you. Goeiemiddag.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good. I spent the whole day watching the box on the screen here.
Sorry, we didn't get that, George?
No, I spent the whole day watching on the news on 404.
Oh, thank you. So what sense did you get whilst watching?
Sorry?
What sense did you get when watching?
No, the box, they can bring the nation together. They can bring peace together to the people.
All right, George. Well, thank you so much. They will be making their way to Cape Town next week. Mavuso in KwaZulu-Natal. Where exactly in KZN are you, Mavuso?
Pietermaritzburg.
In Pietermaritzburg. Good afternoon. How are you feeling this afternoon?
So happy. Yeah, and this is good. Yeah.
Why not to challenge? I don't hear the excitement in your voice.
No, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see our national team bringing home. Yeah, we're always supporting them. Yeah.
Are you going to see them tomorrow?
I have to. It's a must to give
There's
them
the
support.
excitement now. Did you hear it? Thank you so much, Mavuso.
Okay, keep well. Bye.
All right, let's go to Cape Town now from KZN. These are locations that the Springboks still to go, and Andrew is on the line. Andrew,
Yes,
how was your day today? How have you been experiencing all of this?
Oh, wow. Yeah, the experience is so amazing.
How are you feeling?
We are viewing the from the this morning, and we can't wait to receive the cup here in Cape Town as well. Yeah, we can't wait really.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for calling in, and many thanks to all of you for all your calls. And most importantly, for watching today's edition of SA Today.
Yes, indeed. And our thanks to our brain, our mountain of knowledge. Tando, fantastic. You really gave it really rich for us. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure. All right, thank you so much to you at home. The full view is up next. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Good night.
Here it is! The Springboks, champions of the world! Halala! Amaboka boka! Halala!
We've been all around the country talking to real South Africans about saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them.
My name is Pearl and I save 929 Rand a month with insurance. I'm an extremely busy person. I run a few businesses. When I need things done, I need it quickly. And that's exactly what insurance gave me on my first call. It really made it easy for me. I can definitely use that money to save for a holiday or even save for putting back into my business. I'm going to definitely recommend insurance to my clients and make sure all of them switch and save.
Are you just accepting annual increases without looking around to see if you could be paying less? SMS SAVE to 34473 or call 08600 60000 for a quote.
My name is Ron. I was able to save 328 Rand with insurance. Definitely it's money in the pocket that I could use more for my pleasures. I would be able to now even go out and extra dinner dates or movies. Went also brag to all my work colleagues about how good the deal I've got with insurance. And I won't be surprised, some of them will also be swapping over. Phone them, challenge them, and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. SMS SAVE to 34473 or call 08600 60000 for a quote.
My name is Yvette and I save 1,250 Rand with insurance. I was downstairs and my husband came down and he told me about insurance. Then we can pay less than half. I can't believe it and I just hug him and give him a kiss and I said, that's great. I've got that car 5 months now. It feels like when I'm in that car and while I'm busy driving, I don't want to stop, just want to keep on driving.
Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473 or call 08600 60000 for a quote.
My name is Zanathan and I'm saving 372 Rand a month with insurance. I saw this ad on social media of insurance. I replied to it and I got a call almost immediately. I'm a scientist and I had so many difficult questions, but he had all the answers. I saw this amazing saving. I can spend it on what I love doing, which is taking pictures. Switching to insurance is a no-brainer.
Don't overpay for car insurance. Put insurance to the test today. SMS SAVE to 34473 or call 08600 60000 for a quote.
My name is Jacques and I save 403 Rand a month with insurance. My wife made it happen. I'm a bit of a procrastinator. She nagged me, phone insurance, get a better quote. I will definitely take her out for a little something special. As a salesman, seeing how insurance does business and the way they treat their customers, I would very much like to take the example and teach that to my salespeople as well.
SMS SAVE to 34473 or call 08600 60000 for a quote.
Well, hello there. Welcome to The Full View. I'm Tipiso Makwetla. Bok mania gripping Gauteng today. Springbok fans came out in their numbers to get a glimpse of the Rugby World Cup champions as they made their way through Pretoria, Johannesburg and Soweto today. Let's take you through to the headlines now. So there you see it, the Springboks kicking off their Gauteng leg of the World Cup victory tour. A Concord ruling sees former crime intelligence boss Richard Mdluli acquitted of intimidation. Jacob Zuma has to apologize to Derek Hanekom for calling him an enemy agent. Our question of the day today, the Springboks have done their bit for the national psyche. How do we keep the momentum going? That's the question we ask. Please do send us your comments to #FullView. You can send us your voice notes on +2 7 6 6 4 7 9 8 0 5 6.